Chapter 536. A moment later, Yin Qishan brought over 2 brocade boxes. 2 life-continuing pills that emitted a strange fragrance lay quietly in the brocade boxes. Xing Feng's eyes burned with passion as he swallowed his saliva. He really wanted to swallow it in one gulp. 1 pill was equivalent to 10 years of life. Even a fool would want such a great fortune. He angrily suppressed his restless thoughts and put away the life-continuing pill. He smiled proudly and said, "Thank you. Farewell." "Where's Lu Yun?" Yin Qishan asked impatiently. "Your son will naturally return safe and sound in a while. The overseas factory will also be safe and sound." With that, he turned around and left the Yin family with a group of people. Yin Qishan was so angry that his eyes were about to spit fire. He gritted his teeth and said, "Father, who does this Xing Feng think he is? He dares to ride on top of our Yin family. This is too infuriating." However, Yin Patian gradually calmed down and said calmly, "A tall tree attracts the wind. This is a principle that has never changed since ancient times. It seems that the Yin family has flourished for so long, but in the eyes of some people, it has become a big piece of fat meat. Everyone wants to take a bite." "Humph, you're not afraid of knocking your teeth out. If our teeth are good, we might really be able to tear off a piece of fat from our bodies. Qishan, the world is about to change." Yin Patian sighed with emotion. "No way, right?" Yin Qishan exclaimed in disbelief. "Hee, your senses are still too slow. Can't you see that the power of the officials has grown stronger and stronger over the years? In the past, they still had to rely on us, but now they are deliberately distancing themselves from us. Didn't you notice that the officials who are familiar with us are all keeping their distance from us step by step?" With his father's reminder, Yin Qishan seemed to have been enlightened and suddenly came to a realization. "Father, if you didn't say it, I really wouldn't have noticed it. Now that I think about it, the officials who have been on good terms with us in the past 2 years have indeed been distancing themselves from us step by step. Therefore, the officials are playing a huge game of chess, slowly weakening the influence of our great families. In the early days of the country's founding, because the large families had sufficient manpower, financial, and material resources, it was a huge fortune for this country that was lacking in resources. That was why the government tolerated our existence. Following the development and changes of the era, all of this will quietly change. This is the inevitability of the era. If you do not recognize this point, then it will definitely end in a tragedy." Yin Patian said resentfully. "As the saying goes, when all the birds are gone, the good bough is hidden. When the cunning hare is dead, the hound is cooked. This had always been the case throughout the ages." Yin Patian was not sad, nor was he angry, because if it was him, he would have done the same. The strength of the various great families was enormous. If their influence was not weakened, then many of the decisions made by the government would not be carried out. If it were anyone else, they would take action. Of course, in this modern society, things were much gentler. They only weakened the influence. As long as you knew when to advance and when to retreat, there would still be a good outcome in the end. "Father, could it be that handing over the life-continuing pill this time is a signal to the higher-ups?" Yin Qishan asked as if he had understood something. Yin Patian looked at his son with admiration and said, "Smart, this is a signal to let the people above to be at ease with our Yin family, and not to treat our Yin family as a thorn in their side. After all, our Yin family is the biggest among the few families, and it would be difficult for us not to become a target." Yin Qishan said indignantly, "Don't tell me we don't have any countermeasures? Just like that, we're at the mercy of others." Yin Patian laughed unfathomably. "The world is changing. Who can say for sure?" Yin Qishan seemed to be deep in thought. Suddenly, his heart moved as he thought of Yin Qingyi's prophecy. He said in bewilderment, "Qingyi said that there will be a calamity in this world. When the time comes, the world will change, and Tangzheng will turn the tide. We maintain a close relationship with Tangzheng. Maybe we can use this opportunity to seek a turnaround." Immediately, Yin Qishan looked at his father with eyes full of worship. His father was indeed resourceful and had already calculated this move. That was why he did not hesitate to offend the Holy Maiden of Li Palace to protect Tangzheng. Now, It seemed that the decision back then was really too wise. He had prepared for a rainy day and fought for another possibility for the Yin family. Yin Potion's smile became even more unfathomable as he said, "We are unable to predict what will happen in the future. Let's do our best and leave it to fate. This time, Qingyi will go to the northwest to see that towering tree and see if she can gain anything." Yin Qishan nodded. From the looks of it, although his sister had never practiced martial arts before, she had fought for a lot of opportunities for the Yin family in this crucial matter. She had played a greater role than her brother. He couldn't help but be impressed by his father's foresight. When Yin Qingyi became a monk, he had truly become the laughingstock of many people, thinking that it was a great shame for the Yin family. Not only did her father not object, he even supported her outrageous actions. But now, it seemed that she did not have any cultivation in the martial way, but she was becoming more and more proficient in the mysterious art of foretelling the future. Qishan, from now on, our Yin family must be united in order to reverse the situation. Furthermore, we must remember that other than you and me, no third person is allowed to know about today's matter. Yin Patian warned sternly. Yin Qishan was shocked and hurriedly asked, "Are you not going to tell Lu Yun?" Yin Patian snorted and said, "Although he is innocent, he has fallen into the enemy's trap. Thus, in short, his experience is still too lacking, and he needs to sharpen it a little." Yin Qishan sighed inwardly, but he had no way to refute his son. After all, Yin Luyun had indeed caused the Yin family to fall into a passive situation this time. Speak of the devil. Yin Luyun walked in with his head lowered, looking rather miserable as he called out nervously, "Grandfather, Dad, I'm back." Yin Qishan frowned and shouted angrily, "Look at what you've done. This time, the Yin family suffered a huge loss in front of Xingfeng and lost 2 life-continuing pills." Yin Luyun turned pale with fright and said, "How can you give him such a precious life-continuing pill? If you don't give it to him, will you be able to come back safe and sound?" Yin Qishan reprimanded in annoyance. Actually, Yin Qishan was quite satisfied with this son of his. Yin Luyun was not like the rich second generation of the other families, who only knew how to eat, drink, and play. He was undoubtedly the #1 figure among the young masters in the capital. "For me, you actually lost 2 life-continuing pills. It's not worth it," Yin Luyun said in shame. Yin Patian smiled faintly and said, "Life-continuing pills are just dead objects in the end, and you are our grandson. Of course, your life is not something that 2 life-continuing pills can compare to." Seeing his grandfather say that, Yin Luyun was even more ashamed and dejected. "It's all because Luyun is useless." "Raise your head," Yin Patian shouted. "It's just a small setback. Could it be that I've knocked you down? You have to remember, you are a son of the Yin family. How can you admit defeat so easily?" Yin Luyun's mind shook. He raised his head, his gaze firm. "Yes, Yin Luyun will remember grandfather's teachings." "You were framed this time. Do you know who did it?" Yin Patian asked. A fierce glint appeared in Yin Luyun's eyes, and he said coldly, "Of course I know. What should I do?" "You know, right?" Yin Luyun nodded. Yin Luyun understands. Although the Yin family had compromised with Xingfeng, it did not mean that the Yin family could be framed by others. The one who framed Yin Luyun this time was also a rich family's son, who usually had a good relationship with Yin Luyun. Yin Luyun was not on guard at all, which was why he was caught off guard. Towards the other party's betrayal, Yin Luyun hated him to the bones, so of course he would not let him off easily. As for how Xingfeng had bribed the other party, he did not care. Actually, this was not because Xingfeng had bribed the other party, but because of the work of the 2 young masters, Song Yu and Chu Xiaofeng. They understood these hedonistic sons better than Xingfeng, so they were very clear about their weaknesses and hit them with a single strike. Yin Luyun's anger was obviously not something that could be extinguished so easily. That night, he started his crazy revenge. In the end, the young master's sports car was found to have fallen off a cliff, and the car was destroyed and he died. Some people who knew the details naturally guessed that all of this was Yin Luyun's revenge, but no one stood out to criticize him, because this was the fate of a pawn. As for the other party's family business, it also suffered a thunderous blow. Not long after, it was completely defeated, beaten down to the mortal world and shattered into pieces. Tang Zheng, who was thousands of miles away, did not know of these matters. Nor did he know that the Yin family had already made him their most important partner, thus replacing the position of Li Palace. The night was dark and the wind was strong. Tang Zheng stood alone at the peak of the back mountain of Ordinary Balance Mountain. The ground was faintly covered in white snow, and there were few people around. The surroundings were pitch black, and the silence was frightening. Overlooking the cliff below, the past was vivid in his mind. The first time he had refined the life-continuing pill was here, and the heaven-fragrant flower was also picked on this cliff. Thus, this place left him with too many memories. Standing here once again, he felt completely different. Looking at the 10,000-foot cliff below him and the Ordinary Balance courtyard not far away, a heroic feeling arose spontaneously. Ordinary Balance Mountain had witnessed his rise step by step, and he would definitely walk higher and further from here. Looking at the lights of the Ordinary Balance courtyard, his heart stirred. In the past, he had instructed Lin Hu and the others to completely destroy the Ordinary Balance courtyard and then replace it. After all, this was Changheng Resort, and it was the benchmark of the entertainment industry in this area. It was a place that the rich liked to visit the most, and if Tang Zheng wanted to become strong, then he had to step on this eyesore. However, before Lin Hu could carry out his plan, he encountered Xing Feng. Since he had returned this time, he would take advantage of the Spring Festival to get rid of this stumbling block. However, his goal tonight was not the Ordinary Balance courtyard, but another important mission: to refine the Dragon Origin Pill. In the past, the Dragon Origin Pill he refined used the blood of the 5-clawed golden dragon, so its power was especially tyrannical. But this time, he did not have the blood of the 5-clawed golden dragon, but he had a substitute, the blood of the Flood Dragon, the fruit of victory after killing the Flood Dragon in the Dragon Palace. In fact, it could be said that this time he was refining the real Dragon Origin Pill, because the original Dragon Origin Pill used the blood of the Flood Dragon, and not the blood of the 5-clawed golden dragon. He deliberately chose to come to this mountain peak in the middle of the night in order to avoid attracting the attention of others when refining the pill. Chapter 537. Tang Zheng gently waved his hand, and the 9 revolving pill furnace flew out of his sumaru bag and steadily landed on top of the mountain peak. The 9 revolving pill furnace was a mysterious grade magic treasure, and it emitted a mysterious aura in the night. He had already prepared the medicinal ingredients and placed them into the cauldron. Then, he focused his mind and calmed his breathing as he circulated the ancient clear heaven scroll. A second-grade true fire emerged from his fingertips. The purple flame appeared somewhat enchanting in the night sky. It danced with the wind like a flame spirit dancing on his fingertips. Now his control over the true fire was very good. Although the true fire had only reached the second-grade realm, it was enough for normal alchemy. Looking at the flame on his fingertips, his heart was moved. Since he had enough Flood Dragon blood essence, he could refine a large amount of Dragon Origin pills, not only for himself, but also for the people around him. Because the enemy was getting stronger, in addition to arming himself, he also had to arm others. In the future, he would have to refine pills frequently. The 9 revolving pill furnace and the true fire were especially important as both of them had to be upgraded. The 9 revolving pill furnace was originally an earth-grade magic treasure and was a rare alchemy treasure. Now that it had been restored to the mysterious grade, it was only a step away from its peak state. I must find a way to upgrade it. Tang Zheng made up his mind. In addition, the true fire in his body was a second-grade true fire. There were a total of 6th-grade true fires, so his true fire was still weak, and there was still a lot of room for improvement. However, this was not something that could be improved just because he said so. He still had to carefully ponder over it. He calmed himself down, and with a flick of his finger, the second-grade true fire flew into the 9 revolving alchemy furnace and enveloped the herbs, burning and tumbling them. He continuously formed seals, and one by one he sent them into the 9 revolving pill furnace. The aura of heaven and earth suddenly changed, and the spiritual qi in the air was sucked into the furnace. Tang Zheng was slightly surprised. Looking at the chaotic aura of heaven and earth, he muttered to himself, "The spiritual qi of this Ordinary Balance Mountain peak is much richer than before. What is going on? He frowned. A change in spiritual chi was not a simple matter. There must be a reason for it. Suddenly, he thought of something. Could it be because of the Tree of Life? Linger had once said that the Tree of Life could improve the air quality and replenish the thin spirit chi. Could this be the result of the Tree of Life's transformation? He felt that it was somewhat inconceivable. One had to know that the Tree of Life had only appeared for a few days, and it had already improved the spirit chi of heaven and earth so quickly. He had no choice but to reevaluate the Tree of Life. This towering tree was far more miraculous than he had imagined. The Tree of Life contains such powerful spiritual energy. If I cultivate under the tree, I will be able to achieve twice the result with half the effort. When he thought of this, he couldn't help but feel a rush of excitement. This was truly too tempting. No cultivator would be able to resist this kind of heaven-defying temptation, and Tang Zheng was no exception. I must go there after the new year to see if I can gain anything. He secretly made up his mind. A large amount of spiritual energy was sucked into the 9 revolving alchemy furnace. Once the second-grade true fire came in contact with the spiritual energy, it burned even more vigorously and illuminated the interior of the furnace with a sparkling purple light. Time passed little by little. The medicinal properties of the herbs were extracted and turned into a large liquid ball. It was wrapped by the true fire and was constantly rolling. The impurities in the medicinal dregs turned into gas and soared into the air before dissipating with the wind. Flood dragon blood, Tang Zheng shouted. A mass of flood dragon blood wrapped in true chi flew out from his sumeru bag and was directly thrown into the 9 revolving alchemy furnace. Boom! It was as if the flame had encountered an accelerant. It soared into the sky, turning the entire mountain peak purple. The 9 revolving alchemy furnace also began to rapidly revolve. In the end, a vortex formed above the alchemy furnace. The spiritual energy of the world was rapidly sucked in, and a strange fragrance began to spread out from the furnace. As the sky gradually brightened, the furnace stopped rotating. The thin layer of snow on the mountain peak had completely melted. The grass and trees were nourished and glowed with vitality. 15 Dragon Origin Dawn. Looking at the golden pills in the furnace, Tang Zheng was overjoyed. Last time, he used the 5-clawed golden dragon blood to refine 10 Dragon Origin Dawn. This time, there were 15 Dragon Origin Dawn, 5 more than last time. Regarding this, he was not surprised. The Dragon Origin Dawn refined by the 5-clawed golden dragon were too overbearing, so he could only refine 10. But this time, he was able to refine 15 Dragon Origin Dawn. These were the true Dragon Origin Dawn that could be directly consumed. It was not like before where he could only consume them under certain circumstances. Otherwise, there would be a danger of his body exploding. He carefully put away the Dragon Origin Dawn and floated down the mountain. His speed was very fast, and soon he arrived in front of the Ordinary Balance Courtyard. The Ordinary Balance Courtyard was currently being decorated to add a festive atmosphere. Lin, who had once said that before the holidays, the Ordinary Balance Courtyard would earn a lot of money. Even the Spring Festival was no exception. This was because many people liked to invite guests to the Ordinary Balance Courtyard. This place represented a kind of class and could increase the host's face. Although the Ordinary Balance Courtyard was filthy, it had a good reputation among the upper echelons. Many people even brought their families here to enjoy themselves. It could almost satisfy the needs of customers of all ages. Looking at the busy Ordinary Balance Courtyard, Tang Zheng's eyes flashed with a cold light. He sneered, "I'll let this place be glorious for a few more days. After the Spring Festival, I'll come back to clean up this mess. Songyu, you secretly made things difficult for me, so I won't let you have an easy time. I'll start with the Ordinary Balance Courtyard." On the 29th of December, every household was busy. Tang Zheng was no exception. He put up Spring Festival couplets and cleaned up. He was extremely busy. This was the first time that Ling had experienced such things. She was so excited that her face was red. She was busy here and there. Everything was new to her. If only Nana was here. She would definitely be very happy to see so many fun things. Ling said with some disappointment. In the past few days, she had met with Nan Nan. These two girls seemed to have a tacit understanding of each other and were able to get along very well. There were many times when they would get together and play together. There was no need to mention how happy they were. Therefore, when Ling saw so many novel things, she thought of her good friend. Although Ling was physically mature, she was inexperienced. Her mind was not mature. She was equivalent to a 10-year-old child. Hearing her mention this, Tang Zheng's head slightly moved. Mu Hongyan and Nana were alone in the ordinary balance courtyard. When the spring festival came, it would be very lonely. Anyway, the spring festival was lively. He might as well call them home and have a happy spring festival together. When Tang Zhang proposed this to his grandfather supported it with both hands. When people were old, they wanted to have fun. Tang Jing immediately contacted Mu Hongyan. The phone rang a few times before the other party picked up. Tang Zheng, what's the matter? Sister Mu, what are you busy with? I'm still refining various business plans. These things will be needed after the spring festival. They can't be delayed. Mu Hongyan said seriously. Tang Zhang was shocked and asked, You're still working? Mu Hongyan was a free person. Tang Zhang left everything to her to manage. He did not expect her to work so hard. It was already the 29th of December, and she was still working. I'm at home, Mu Hongyan said with a smile. It's the spring festival. Aren't you going to accompany Nana? She's playing by herself. It's fine. Then how are you going to celebrate the spring festival? I'm not prepared. Mu Hongyan told the truth. In the past, she had always spent the spring festival in the Long family. It was very lively, so she did not need to worry about these things. Sister Mu, don't work anymore. Today, your first task is to accompany Nana and go shopping for clothes or other things. You should at least take a break at the end of the year. Tomorrow, you guys come to my house early to reunite and have New Year's Eve dinner together. Tang Zheng said without hesitation. There's no need. There's a need. Sister Mu, I'm the boss. This is my order. You have to follow it, understand? Tang Zheng took out the posture of a boss and said firmly. Mu Hongyan laughed involuntarily. Don't all bosses want their employees to work hard? Where would you encourage your employees to be lazy? Let's strike a balance between work and rest. Now that you're tired, who will work for me in the future? I'm thinking far ahead. I'm serious, don't work today. The spring festival is too important for children. Don't neglect Nana, Tang Zheng said earnestly. Mu Hongyan turned her head and looked at her daughter who was playing alone. Her heart softened and she said, All right, I won't be polite with you. Tomorrow, I'll bring Nana to your house. There were guests coming, so Tang Zheng specially went to prepare children's toys and snacks. After being so busy, the sky turned dark. The few of them tidied up and fell asleep, conserving their energy for tomorrow's spring festival. As night fell, a gust of cold wind suddenly blew in from the window. Immediately, the room became even darker. It was as thick as ink. On the bed, Tang Dahai was lying quietly. His breathing was even and steady. It was obvious that he was sleeping soundly. Two shadows suddenly appeared in the darkness. These two shadows merged into one with the darkness. It was almost impossible to distinguish them from each other. The black shadow floated to the front of the bed and stared at the sleeping Tang Dahai with wide eyes. Is it him? Suddenly, one of the black shadows asked. The other black shadow nodded. It's him. The first person who increased his lifespan was him. The source of the problem must be him. Then should we detain his soul and interrogate it? The Ghost King ordered us to get to the bottom of this. If we can't find anything, then us two brothers will suffer. So we can't care too much and detain his soul for interrogation. Humph, a person can lie when they are alive, but a soul can't lie. We'll know once we ask. But I'm afraid his lifespan will be damaged. His lifespan was already at its end. I don't know what method he used to extend his lifespan by so much, but he even gained 10 more years of lifespan. How preposterous. Even if something really happens to him, he deserves it. He only has himself to blame. The higher-ups won't blame us, right? What's there to be afraid of? When we return his soul, he won't die. Us two brothers can still guarantee that he will live for another 10 years. Humph, but these 10 years I'm afraid he will be seriously ill in bed like a living dead. But as long as he doesn't die, no one will pursue us. Chapter 538. The two shadows reached a consensus. One of them took out a bell and shook it. However, the bell didn't make any sound on purpose. However, a mysterious aura spread out and enveloped Tang Dahai. A shadow slowly floated up from his body as if it was about to leave. Bang! Suddenly, with a muffled sound, the door was fiercely pushed open. Tang Zheng stood at the door and angrily shouted, "Stop!" The two shadows were shocked and hurriedly stopped. The shadow on Tang Dahai's body returned to his body and merged with him. Tang Zheng's heart jumped. If he was late, his grandfather would have been killed by these two guys. Fortunately, he was sleeping in the living room, which was very close to his grandfather's bedroom. When he heard a little movement, he rushed in. "Ah, he can see us," cried the black shadow in panic. "Of course he can see. What are you?" Tang Zheng did not ask who they were, but what they were. This was because he had already determined that they were not human. The yin qi on their body was very dense and was quite rare. If Huang Ziang or War Spirit were here, they would definitely like this dense yin qi. After Huang Ziang returned to the ordinary balance, he was placed in a special place by Tang Zheng. War Spirit and the two shooting sun arrows were still in the hands of the martial organization's sect master. The shadow looked at Tang Zheng in disbelief and asked, "Who are you? How can you see us?" "You just wanted to hurt my grandfather, right?" Tang Zheng asked sternly. One of the shadows had an idea and shouted, "I know, he is a cultivator. He is not a cultivator of this world. He has been expelled. How can there still be?" Seeing that the other party did not answer, Tang Zheng's face turned ashen. With such a big movement, the old man did not wake up. Then there must be a problem. In addition, Tang Zheng gradually smelled a familiar aura from the other party. It was the aura of the ghost realm. He had dealt with the ghost realm visitors several times. He was even chased by a ghost general, but the yin qi on the two was obviously stronger. If he really was a guest from the ghost realm, then he must be in existence more powerful than the ghost general. The ghost realm suddenly came here, which meant that something must have gone wrong, and it was related to his grandfather's safety. If he didn't get to the bottom of this, Tang Zheng wouldn't be able to sleep. "Since you don't want to talk, I'll capture you and slowly interrogate you," Tang Zheng said sternly. His figure flashed and pounced on the other party. The other party was enraged and roared, "How dare you? A little Xiozha dares to oppose our ghost marshal. Today we'll make your soul scatter." Ghost marshal. Tang Zheng remembered this term. Since they were ghost marshals, they were definitely stronger than ghost generals. Facing two ghost marshals, he didn't know if he had the confidence to win. Furthermore, this was a residential area. So many divine abilities could not be used, such as the heaven-shocking bow and the sun-shooting arrows. If they were to be used, then this building would be almost destroyed. Therefore, Tang Zheng used his hand as a sword and quickly thrust it out. Before the first move was over, the second move was up, and the third move was dazzling, as if there really was a sharp sword in front of his eyes that was attacking him. The ghost marshal was not a fake either. He could tell with a single glance that Tang Zheng was not an ordinary cultivator. He was extremely powerful. The two of them shouted at the same time, "How dare you!" Two black lights soared into the sky, directly meeting Tang Zheng's attack. The two sides immediately began to fight, flashing and moving about in this small space. The furniture was destroyed one after another, and the ground was in a mess. In the end, only the bed that Tang Dahai was sleeping on was intact. In order to protect his grandfather from being implicated, Tang Zheng's strength was reduced by a few points, and it was hard to tell who would win. For a moment, no one could do anything to the other. Since such a powerful cultivator has appeared by this old man's side, then perhaps the matter of extending his lifespan is related to him, or perhaps he knows the details. Once we capture him, we can report to the Ghost King. A ghost marshal said excitedly, as if he had discovered a new continent. That makes sense. In order to avoid any trouble, we have to take him down quickly. The other agreed readily. The two of them looked at each other, and as if they had a tacit understanding, they suddenly sped up. In the blink of an eye, the room was filled with gusts of cold wind, as if they were in a ghost realm. The cold wind roared angrily, as if there were thousands of vengeful spirits coming to claim their lives. If it was an ordinary person, they would have been scared out of their wits by this scene. But Tang Zheng was filled with killing intent. He was completely unaffected by the yin qi and started to attack. Suddenly, a strong gust of cold wind blew, and a green face and fanged ghost head bit towards Tang Zheng's head. Tang Zheng's finger poked upwards, hitting the ghost head, and the ghost head exploded, turning into balls of black light. However, before Tang Zheng could heave a sigh of relief, a biting cold wind blew from all directions, and 8 ghost heads attacked Tang Zheng at the same time. There were green-faced and fanged ghost heads in front of him, and they were extremely terrifying. Tang Zheng stabilized his mind with a thought. He took out the dragon-trapped rope. Although he was unable to use the heaven-shocking bow, the dragon-trapped rope was still useful. With a shake of his arm, the dragon-trapped rope drew a circle and wrapped around the 2 ghost heads in front of him. With a sudden force, the ghost heads exploded. The other 6 ghost heads had already arrived behind Tang Zheng, their eyes emitting a green light, as if they would immediately bite off a piece of flesh from Tang Zheng's body. "Master, what happened?" Suddenly, Linger walked to the door and turned on the light switch. The room immediately lit up. When she saw this scene, she immediately covered her mouth in shock and almost screamed. She shouted in panic, "Who are you? I won't allow you to hurt Master." As he spoke, he rushed towards a ghost head. As if the ghost head had a mind of its own, it changed its direction and directly bit her body. "Be careful," Tang Zheng shouted in shock. This ghost head was not simple. It was condensed from yin qi and evil qi. If it was bitten, then these qi would enter the meridians and cause great harm to the human body. Linger pouted. Her pink face was fiendish. She was not afraid at all. Instead, she rushed forward a few steps and said angrily, "You are not allowed to hurt Master." Just as the ghost head was about to touch Linger's skin, suddenly, a green light was emitted from her body. When the ghost head touched the green light, it immediately disappeared into thin air. Seeing that Linger was safe and sound, Tang Zheng finally heaved a sigh of relief. In fact, ever since Linger had transformed into a human, he had never asked about Linger's strength. This time, seeing that the ghost head could not gain any advantage in front of Linger, he secretly guessed that although Linger was innocent, her instincts were not weak. Taking advantage of this gap, the dragon-trapping rope was like a nimble dragon, constantly churning. In an instant, the remaining 5 ghost heads were eliminated. "Linger, take Grandpa out, protect Grandpa," Tang Zheng anxiously ordered. "Master, Linger wants to protect you," Linger volunteered. "They can't hurt me, Linger. Your task is to protect Grandpa." "Oh," Linger pouted. She seemed to be distressed and regretful that she could not protect Grandpa, but she did not object. She supported the unconscious Tang Dahai and stepped out of the house. "Shangxian, do you need my help?" Gue Qiansui also staggered to the door, but Xiaobai was lying on its back, too lazy to move. It raised its head and looked at the 2 ghost commanders, as if it had no interest, and lazily lay down again. Since absorbing the magma in the cave, Xiaobai had turned into a ball, inconvenient to move, and also became lazy. Finally, after discovering Gue Qiansui, this free mobility tool, it did not even need to walk, and spent most of its time lying on Gue Qiansui's back, letting it carry it. Regarding the little guy's mischievous appearance, Tang Zheng had no choice but to let it do as it pleased. At this moment, seeing its dull appearance, which was completely different from its previous aggressive temperament, he could not help but find it funny. "You all step back, protect Grandpa and Linger. I can deal with the 2 of them alone." After a period of fighting, Tang Zheng gradually figured out the strength of the other side. These 2's fighting strength was indeed higher than the Ghost General's, but after Tang Zheng had the help of the dragon-trapping rope, it was obviously impossible for the other side to escape. The 2 ghost commanders also saw this point, so their expression became nervous. The 2 looked at each other and nodded, as if they had reached some kind of tacit understanding. Then, one of them took the lead to rush towards Tang Zheng, and with a wave of his hand, several ghost heads flew in front of him towards Tang Zheng. The other one took out a token. The token flashed with a black light, and the air fluctuated violently. Gotcha! It was as if the space was torn apart, and a black door suddenly appeared. There was not a trace of light behind the door. It was as dark as ink, and it was impossible to see what was behind the door. However, a dense qi drifted out from behind the door, causing people's hearts to tremble violently. Tang Zheng recognized the door at a glance and exclaimed, "Ghost Gate." Seeing that Tang Zheng recognized the Ghost Gate, the two ghost commanders' eyelids twitched. The average person did not have such knowledge, so they were certain that the increase in lifespan was definitely related to this cultivator, so they could capture him and report back. Want to escape? No way. Of course, Tang Zheng could not let these two escape. Otherwise, what would happen if the Ghost Realm sent more powerful experts? Moreover, he still had not figured out what was going on. Why would the Ghost Commanders come to find Grandpa? Didn't Grandpa still have 10 years of lifespan? Now was not the time to reap souls, and it was even more impossible to let these two Ghost Commanders become soul reapers. There was something fishy about all of this. With a wave of his hand, the dragon-trapping rope shot down several ghost heads, and Tang Zheng leaped, attacking the Ghost Commander near the Ghost Gate. He had to tie him down and prevent him from escaping back to the Ghost Realm. If that happened, it would be harder than ascending to the heavens to pursue him. The Ghost Commander seemed to be scared silly. Seeing Tang Zheng attack, he stood motionless in place, as if waiting for Tang Zheng to attack. With a wave of the dragon-trapping rope, it immediately wrapped around the opponent, but the Ghost Commander rushed towards Tang Zheng, opening his arms and hugging Tang Zheng's waist. Tang Zheng felt a chill in his heart. What was going on? Before he could understand, he felt his back tighten. The other Ghost Commander had also pounced over, hugging him with both hands, one in front and one behind. The two of them were like drowning people grabbing onto a life-saving straw, not letting go no matter what. Then, carrying Tang Zheng, they flew into the Ghost Gate. Chapter 539. There was darkness in front of him, but soon, a ray of light entered his eyes. Tang Zheng could finally see his surroundings clearly. This was another world. It was incomparably dark, and the sky was also dark. This was definitely not the night, but another world. The dense qi reminded Tang Zheng that this was the Ghost Realm. This was the final resting place of the dead, and definitely not a place where a living person like him should go. The qi was like little worms that devoured his life, trying to drill into his body and kill him. He felt a chill in his heart and subconsciously circulated the ancient scroll of Tongtian. The warm true qi flowed through his 8 extraordinary meridians and drove away the qi that wanted to invade his territory. His waist loosened, and the two Ghost Commanders jumped back, eerily laughing. No matter where you come from, coming to the Ghost Realm means that you're already dead. Hey, now you're at our mercy. Tang Zheng shivered and said, "I'm standing in front of you alive. How am I dead?" "You're not dead right now, but you will be very soon. The Ghost Realm is a place where ghosts come from. You brought your body here, and it won't be long before the qi corrodes your body, tormenting you to death. Then we'll capture your ghost and report back, haha." Report back? What report back? Tang Zheng did not understand the other's intentions, but since they were so confident, he might as well get some information out of them. The two Ghost Commanders clearly relaxed their vigilance and proudly said, "There's no harm in telling you now. Many people in the human world suddenly have 10 more years of life. Of course, we have to investigate thoroughly. In the end, we found that the source was actually that old man, so we speculated that this matter was definitely related to him. Haha, we're really too smart, guessing right? I'm afraid the culprit behind all this is you, right?" Tang Zheng's eyelids jumped, and he finally understood what was going on. The problem was with the life-continuing pill. Although Tang Zheng did not know much about the Ghost Realm, from Tian Chanzi's words, he roughly understood that the Ghost Realm was another world that specialized in managing ghosts after death. As for the specific situation of the Ghost Realm, Tian Chanzi was not clear about it, because he also knew little about this strange world. Most of what he knew was from the seniors in the sect. When the Ghost Realm discovered that many people had suddenly gained 10 years of lifespan, they would definitely investigate and intervene. Tang Dahai, the first person who had his lifespan extended, became the primary target of investigation. Tang Zheng couldn't help but feel a little regretful. The ghost realm was only investigating this matter now because there was a sudden increase in the number of people who had their lifespans extended recently. Otherwise, they would have come to investigate long ago. This was definitely related to him auctioning off the life-continuing pills. Some of those life-continuing pills must have already been consumed by others and had the effect of prolonging their lifespan. The ghost realm had discovered that there was an increase in the number of life-prolonging pills, so they started to investigate. If Tang Zheng did not sell this batch of life-prolonging pills, the ghost realm would not have paid so much attention to this matter. Although the life-continuing pill is a good thing, it seems that it also has side effects. Attracting the ghost realm's investigation or pursuit for money is not a good thing. In the future, I can't wantonly refine the life-continuing pills. That would cause complete chaos and also bring me unnecessary trouble. Tang Zheng silently made up his mind. Seeing that Tang Zheng was silent, the two ghost commanders sneered. Looking at your reaction, this matter was definitely done by you. We are very curious as to how you did it. Tang Zheng coldly snorted and said, It's none of your business. This is related to the survival of the ghost realm. How can we not care? The ghost commander angrily roared. The survival of the ghost realm? You should have heard of reincarnation, right? Tang Zheng nodded. This was Hua Xia's oldest legend, but many people were skeptical because it was too mysterious. It seems that this was not an illusion, but a real thing. Hee, foolish human, it seems that you do not know the details. That's fine, the Inchi will still take some time, so we will tell you. After all, you will know after you die. The ghost commander proudly said. Tang Zheng felt that there was nothing wrong with his body. Only then did he suppress the fear in his heart and listen to the other party show off. If he missed this opportunity, it would not be easy to hear these secrets again. The ghost realm is the same as the human realm. It is just another world with a different set of operating laws. When a person's life is up, they will die and their soul will leave their body and enter the ghost realm. After a period of time, these souls will be reincarnated and enter the human realm to become a human again. Do you understand? Tang Zheng suddenly understood, but he was still full of doubt and asked, You are saying that anyone can be reincarnated after they die? Anyone? Haha, what a joke, of course not. Do you think that everyone is so lucky? For example, people like you who disturb the order will be thrown into the 18 layers of hell after they die. They will suffer torment and pain until their soul is scattered, completely disappearing from this world. As for others, as long as they perform well in the ghost realm, they will naturally have a chance to be reincarnated as a human. Otherwise, they will be muddle-headed and enslaved in the ghost realm for the rest of their lives. When Tang Zheng heard this, he was furious. After he died, he had to suffer the pain of the 18 layers of hell. Who set this rule? If an ordinary person heard this, they would have been scared to the point of kneeling and begging for mercy. But Tang Zheng was different. As his strength grew stronger, he became more and more confident in himself. Only the pair of fists in his hands was the absolute truth. Only then could he defend his rights and dignity. Then who decides whether a person is enslaved or reincarnated? Of course it is the king of hell. If you are chosen by the king of hell, then you can naturally be reincarnated earlier, or enjoy glory and wealth in the ghost realm. Tang Zheng felt a chill run down his spine. The ghost realm was just like the human realm, full of all kinds of ugliness. It turned out that everything was based on relationships. In an instant, he no longer had a good impression of the ghost realm, nor did he have the slightest respect or fear for them. I don't know what method you used, but it can actually increase a person's lifespan. If more and more people don't die, then the ghost realm will have no source of ghosts, and ghosts will have to be reincarnated at every moment. There will only be output, but no input. In the end, there will be no ghosts in the ghost realm. Wouldn't that be chaos? But now that we have caught you, the main culprit, there will be no more troubles in the future. There will be an endless stream of ghosts entering the ghost realm. Haha, we can be carefree again. Why aren't you dead yet? A ghost marshal suddenly stared at Tang Zheng and asked suspiciously, That's right, the Yin Qi should have already invaded his body. How can he still be standing there unscathed? Another ghost marshal exclaimed in disbelief. Tang Zheng's body was warm, and he did not feel any discomfort. He gradually understood that perhaps ordinary people would definitely be killed by the yin qi in the ghost realm, but to him, his pure yang energy had completely offset the yin qi, and the yin qi had no way of entering his body, causing the ghost marshal's plan to fail. Tang Zheng sneered. He looked at the other party with ill intentions and said, I already know the information I want. Now it's your turn to die. I'm very curious if you can reincarnate after you die. Ghost Marshal's expression changed greatly. Although they were strong, they were still ghosts in essence. Once they were killed, their souls would scatter, and they would completely disappear from this world. They would not have the chance to reincarnate. From the other party's reaction, Tang Zheng had also guessed the answer, and his killing intent soared. These two people already knew his identity, so they definitely could not let the tiger return to the mountain. Tang Zheng roared and summoned the heaven-shocking bow and the sun-shooting arrow. In the ghost realm, he did not have to worry about the problem of destructive power. The stronger the external force, the sooner he could take care of them. Tang Zheng pulled open the bow and arrow, and the expressions of the two ghost marshal changed because they could already feel a powerful aura from the bow and arrow. Let's go all out. Ghost Marshal looked at each other and roared. With a wave of his hands, two bells appeared in their hands. The bell was silent, but every time it shook, the cold wind between heaven and earth would become even stronger. Waves of ghost cries came from all directions, causing people to shudder. Previously, I was unable to unleash the full power of the soul-summoning bell in the mortal world. Now, I'll let you try it. The ghost commander roared out. The more the bell rang, the more anxious it became, causing sand and stones to fly. A gust of cold wind turned into a tornado, swirling towards Tang Zheng, and within the tornado, there were countless ferocious-looking ghost heads, all of them fiercely baring their teeth at Tang Zheng, as if they wanted to tear him to pieces. Tang Zheng was like still water. The heaven-shocking bow was pulled into a full moon, and seeing the tornado blowing over, he slowly released his fingers. Wong. With a strong vibration sound, the sun-shooting arrow left the bowstring and turned into a ray of light, accurately shooting into the tornado. Boom, 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 boom. A series of explosions sounded out one after another. The ghost heads screamed miserably and exploded, turning into strands of yin qi. The tornado also stopped abruptly and disappeared into thin air. Bang! The soul-summoning bell in the hands of one of the ghost marshals shattered into pieces with a clang, scattering all over the ground. He spat out a mouthful of blood and staggered backwards. How could he be so powerful? Just who are you? The ghost marshal screamed in shock. The other one had blood at the corner of his mouth and looked like he was on the verge of collapsing. He screamed, "Run!" He turned around and ran. Obviously, this one was much smarter. He knew that the only reason he was able to fight to a draw with the other party was because the other party did not take out this great killing weapon. Now that they were far from being a match for the other party, if they did not escape, they would be waiting to be killed. The other one also seemed to have woken up from a dream and turned to run. Tang Zheng's reaction was even faster than theirs. He leaped and passed by the ghost marshal behind him. While he was still in the air, he pulled open the heaven-shocking bow and shot out the sun-shooting arrow, straight towards the ghost marshal in the distance. Boom! The sun-shooting arrow accurately pierced into the opponent's body and exploded. A miserable scream came to an abrupt end as the ghost marshal turned into black smoke and dissipated into the air. Tang Zheng landed steadily on the ground and turned to face the ghost marshal who was rushing forward. The other party anxiously stopped and looked at Tang Zheng in fear and uneasiness, shouting, "If you kill me, you will cause a huge mess. If you go against the ghost realm, you will definitely die." The corner of Tang Zheng's mouth curled up into a cold smile and said, "Killing one is also killing. Killing a pair is also killing. Furthermore, you are not the first person from the ghost realm to die in my hands. I know, the ghost messengers and ghost generals that disappeared back then were also killed by you?" The ghost marshal seemed to have awoken from a dream, but he was extremely shocked. "Since you know, then prepare to die." Chapter 540. Seeing the other party crush the ghost tablet, Tang Zheng did not have time to stop him. His face sank as he asked, "Without this ghost tablet, you want to trap me in the ghost realm? Hong, consider yourself smart. Even if I can't kill you, I will trap you so that you will never be able to reincarnate." The ghost commander gritted his teeth and said. Tang Zhang did not think much of it and said, "Is that so? I'm afraid you've miscalculated. Look at what this is." Tang Zhang took out a black token. If this was not the ghost tablet, then what was it? When he killed the ghost messengers and ghost general, he naturally obtained this ghost tablet. He knew that the ghost tablet could summon the ghost gate and connect the two worlds. Seeing the ghost tablet, the ghost messenger's expression changed greatly as he exclaimed, "How do you have the ghost tablet?" Just as he finished asking, he suddenly realized, "I know, you killed them, so you obtained the ghost tablet." The corner of Tang Zhang's mouth rose as he said, "Now you can give up. You want to trap me in the ghost realm?" Wishful thinking. The ghost commander retreated step by step, his face filled with panic. He suddenly knelt in front of him and cried bitterly as he begged for mercy. "I beg you, let me go. I won't say anything." Hee, it's too late. Tang Zhang slipped and appeared in front of the ghost commander. The other party was already scared out of his wits and subconsciously wanted to resist, but Tang Zhang had already grabbed his neck. Bang, go to hell. True fire emerged from Tang Zhang's palm, instantly igniting the ghost commander. The ghost commander screamed, but was unable to break free from Tang Zhang's grasp. His screams weakened bit by bit. Bang! With an explosion, he turned into wisps of yin qi and scattered with the wind. Tang Zhang clapped his hands. After confirming that he did not leave behind any clues, he looked up. The sky was still dark, like the scene before a storm. From time to time, a cold wind would blow by, cold and awe-inspiring. What entered his eyes was a desolate area without any buildings. Even the ground was dark, as if it had been burned by fire. This is the ghost realm. It is indeed very different from the human world. The King of Hell has set his eyes on the matter of extending his lifespan, and the ghost marshal he sent this time failed miserably. I wonder if he will send someone even more powerful. Tang Zhang furrowed his brows. This problem really troubled him. Forget it. Let's go home and see how Grandpa is doing. He remembered that Grandpa had been in a coma. He didn't know how he was doing now. His true chi flowed into the ghost token. With a flash of black light, a ghost gate appeared in front of him. He leaped into the ghost gate. In the next second, he appeared in his grandfather's room, only to see Ling, staring at the air with her head tilted to one side. It seemed that with her understanding, it was very difficult for her to understand such a sudden disappearance, but she had been waiting foolishly because she believed that her master would definitely return safely. When she saw Tang Zhang's figure reappear, she immediately cheered and jumped directly onto Tang Zhang's body. Like a sloth, she tightly hugged him, afraid that he would disappear again in a blink of an eye. "Master, Ling thought that you had abandoned me. You finally came back. Ling is so happy." Ling said pitifully. Tang Zhang laughed involuntarily. He touched her head and asked, "Where is Grandfather?" "Grandfather is lying on the sofa. I let Xiaobai and Gue Qinsui look after him," Ling said. Tang Zhang strode into the living room. He saw his grandfather's eyes were closed, as if he was sleeping soundly. Xiaobai and Gue Qinsui quietly guarded him. Seeing Tang Zhang return, Xiaobai rolled his eyes and drooped his head. It seemed that he had expected him to be safe and sound. Gue Qinsui was pleasantly surprised. "Immortal?" Tang Zhang nodded. He held his grandfather's hand. A trace of Zhan Qi wandered inside his grandfather's body. He checked and found that there was no major problem. He heaved a sigh of relief. In fact, if he had appeared a little later, the old man's soul would have been taken away from his body. Even if it was returned, it would cause great harm to his body. Fortunately, the soul did not completely leave the body. Tang Zhang stopped it, so the old man luckily escaped. However, the old man's body was still invaded by a bit of yin qi, so he was unconscious. But it was all dispersed by Tang Zhang's jin qi. The old man would not wake up for the time being. Tang Zhang did not intend to tell him about last night's big matter. He did not want him to worry in vain. So he told Ling, and Gue Qinsui not to reveal half a word to their grandfather. Then he took advantage of the night to buy furniture. Because the old man's room had become a mess, almost all the furniture was destroyed. Of course, Tang Zhang could only buy new furniture. Fortunately, he had Lin Hu and Fire Phoenix, the two former local tyrants. Even in the middle of the night, they could gather a lot of furniture. When the sky turned white, he had already renovated the old man's bedroom. At this time, the old man faintly opened his eyes and looked around curiously. He thought he was dreaming. This was not his room at all. Seeing his grandson in front of him, he knew that all this was real. Of course, he could not help but ask. Tang Zheng had already thought of a countermeasure. He directly said that he was filial to him. He specially took advantage of the old man's sleep to change his clothes. He wanted to give him a surprise. Fortunately, the old man gradually got used to Tang Zheng's unusual behavior. Although he was distressed and complained about spending money, he did not say anything more. Only then did Tang Zheng let out a sigh of relief and quietly got busy. Today was the most important day of the year, New Year's Eve. Therefore, Tang Zheng did not bat an eyelid, as if nothing had happened last night. He started to get busy early in the morning. But before she could get busy for a while, Lan Yu came to visit. She had fought hard for the opportunity to participate in this group year from the old man, so of course she had to perform well. However, she was not the only one who rushed over early. Mu Hongyin brought Nana over very quickly. The house immediately became lively and happy. New Year's Eve was an important day for the people of Huaxia. Not only the ordinary people, but also the officials and even some mysterious organizations were jubilant on this day. Looking at the red lanterns hanging everywhere, Wu smiled from the bottom of his heart. After returning to the martial sect alone, the sect master asked her where Mistress had gone. According to Mistress's instructions, she perfunctorily passed over. Regarding this, she felt extremely guilty. Since she was young, she had never hidden anything from the sect master. This time, she had no choice but to make an exception. This was because Mistress had warned her with certainty and seriousness that if the news of her looking for Tang Zheng were to spread, it was very likely that there would be a huge mess. Wu did not suspect that this was Mistress's alarmist words, because she did not doubt Mistress's judgment at all. Looking at the sky outside the high wall, her thoughts could not help but drift away. Mistress was alone in the ordinary balance. How was it? How was he getting along with the despicable Tang Zheng? Yes, she now defined Tang Zheng as a despicable fellow. This guy didn't know what was good for him. He actually treated Mistress so cruelly. She couldn't help but want to rush up and beat him up. Of course, in the dead of night, another thought would appear in her mind. She had done that kind of thing with that guy. If he were to return to the martial sect in the future and reunite with the sect leader's family, how would she get along with him? Back then, the sect master had said that he would adopt her for that day. That time, according to the sect master's orders, she gave herself to Tang Zheng. Could it be that the sect master already knew that Tang Zheng would explode one day? How could he foresee the future? Moreover, since the sect master knew that Tang Zheng was still alive, why didn't he look for him before? With the strength of the martial sect, even if it was like looking for a needle in a haystack, looking for a child in a busy crowd was not impossible. Why didn't the sect master take action? In addition, no one else knew that Tang Zheng was still alive. Why didn't he even tell his wife? Wasn't that too cruel? She calmed down and thought about it one by one. She found that there were many suspicious points. The sect master and mistress that she was very close to had too many secrets that she was unable to understand. Even the entire martial sect was covered with a layer of mystery. Even she, who grew up in the martial sect, was unable to see through it. Unknowingly, her delicate eyebrows were tightly knitted together. She retracted her gaze from the distant horizon. The people of the martial sect were constantly busy preparing for the New Year's Eve banquet. The martial sect also had to celebrate the new year. During the martial sect's childhood, for 365 days, other than the New Year's Eve, they had to practice hard on the rest of the days. Therefore, whenever the new year was approaching, she would silently hope that the day would come quickly so that she could play without any worries. Now that she had grown up, this feeling was getting fainter and fainter. Everything had turned into a meeting. But when she thought about it carefully, she felt that those days were exceptionally beautiful. Suddenly, Her gaze turned cold as it locked onto two people who walked in from the door. One was the Great Elder, the other was an old granny. Ever since the Great Elder returned from the 10,000 huge mountains with injuries, he had been living in seclusion and had become somewhat mysterious. Even martial sect rarely saw him. Why did she bring an old granny to the martial sect this time? One had to know that the martial sect was not an ordinary place. Ordinary people would not be able to find it, let alone step through the door of the martial sect. That was simply a fool's dream. And this old granny was led by the Great Elder, so she was definitely not an ordinary person. She looked at the other party with a burning gaze, hoping to see some clues. However, she found that her efforts were useless. Suddenly, the old granny turned her head and looked at Wu Liao. When their eyes met, Wu Liao felt as if he had been struck by a giant bell. His face turned pale, and he staggered back a few steps. The martial general's soul was still unsettled, but he hurriedly looked over, only to find that the other party had already shifted his gaze away, no longer looking at her. But that feeling just now was like a demon that lingered in her heart for a long time, unable to get rid of it. What kind of gaze was that? She was unable to describe it. She only knew that the gaze was extremely deep. Looking at it made her feel as if her entire body was about to be sucked in, unable to extricate herself. At the critical moment, she hurriedly circulated her energy and stabilized her mind. Only then did she withdraw from that dangerous state. However, she could not help but take a few steps back, her face pale. If a single gaze could cause such a huge impact on Marshall, then how powerful was the other party? Chapter 541. This old woman was no ordinary person, but the palace master of the Li Palace. Wu Junshan was surprised to see her. This was the first time the palace master of the Li Palace had come to visit him since he took charge of the martial arts sect. As the saying goes, those with good intentions don't come. Although the Li Palace and the martial arts sect were one of the two mysterious organizations, they didn't have much interaction with each other, let alone friendship. What was the reason for her sudden visit? Wu Junshan had a few thoughts in his mind as he quickly walked to the door. The two of them were of similar status, and because the princess was older, Wu Junshan didn't want to neglect her to prevent others from gossiping. Wu Junshan cupped his hands and bowed. Palace Master Li, what a rare guest. It turned out that both the palace master and the holy maiden were surnamed Li, and the palace master was called Granny Li. She was still leaning on her walking stick, like an old woman with one foot in the grave. Her eyes were completely covered by wrinkles. She looked at Wu Junshan with a smile and said, "Sect Master Wu, how have you been?" "Thank you for your concern, Palace Master Li. I heard that you've been cultivating in seclusion for a long time, and it seems that you've gained a lot," Wu Junshan said meaningfully, but his heart was shocked. In the past, his cultivation was on par with hers. Although she had lived for decades and cultivated for decades longer, Wu Junshan was quite talented in martial arts and could be called a genius. Therefore, he had reached the 7th level of the Grandmaster realm in his middle age. But now, it seemed that the older the ginger, the spicier it was. Granny Li had surpassed him and reached the 8th level of the Grandmaster realm. Wu Junshan knew that the further one went on the path of martial arts, the harder it was to break through each level. It was not easy for Granny Li to achieve this. However, Wu Junshan wasn't jealous, nor was he discouraged. He believed that with his talent and hard work, he could surpass her in the future. Sometimes, age could be the biggest advantage. Wu Junshan was younger than Granny Li by a few decades. One day, he would stand at the peak again. Granny Li smiled. Wrinkles covered her face like the bark of an old tree, contrasting sharply with Wu Junshan's smooth and delicate skin. "What brings Palace Master Li here?" Wu Junshan asked. Granny Li took a deep look at the other party and said, "Of course it's an important matter. I heard that something unexpected happened to the martial sect. 3rd Elder and 4th Elder both met with misfortune. This is really a pity." Wu Junshan's expression did not change, but his heart skipped a beat. He said, "The 2 elders sacrificed themselves for the martial sect. Everyone in the martial sect respects them." "Hee, indeed. I miss them very much. Back then, this senior had a lot of interactions with them." If the old sect master was here, perhaps he would not hesitate to make the murderer disappear from this world, Grandma Li said meaningfully. Wu Junshin's expression turned solemn as he asked, "What do you mean, Palace Master Li?" "I just heard that the murderer is still at large, and I feel a little regretful." "Oh right, I also heard that the culprit was actually a cultivator. Hasn't the martial sect always adopted a zero-tolerance attitude towards cultivators? Why is it that this time, the murderer is being ignored?" Wu Junshin's expression became more and more serious as he stared at Granny Li and asked, "Is there a hidden meaning in your words?" "Hee, is there? Palace Master Li, this is the martial sect's business. There is no need for outsiders to tell us what to do," Wu Junshan said bluntly. "Sect Master Wu has such a big temper. Even when the old sect master was alive, he did not have such a temper with me. Truly, the new generation excels the old. I'm just stating the facts. Today is New Year's Eve. If Palace Master Li is sincerely here as a guest, then this Wu will welcome you with open arms. If Palace Master Li wants to use your status to tell us what to do, then I'm sorry, but this Wu has no time to argue with you," Wu Junshan said grandly. Granny Li's smile did not fade as she said, "I have been friends with the old sect master for many years. Since he is no longer here, of course I have to ask about the martial sect. The martial sect master is young and hot-blooded. If he makes a mistake and brings serious consequences to the martial sect, then I won't have the face to meet the old sect master in the future." Although these words were said casually, there was a lot of information in her words. She really wanted to fight to the death and interfere with the martial sect's business. Wu Junshin's heart burned with anger. The martial sect and the Li Palace had not interfered with each other all these years. If she wanted to interfere just because of a few words, then what was Wu Junshan? "See the guest out." Wu Junshan directly sat back in his chair and coldly shouted. Granny Li did not move, and no one asked her to leave. Wu Junshin's thick eyebrows formed a Chuan character. He turned his head to look at the indifferent head elder. This kind of thing was obviously done by the head elder, but since he did not move, then things became complicated. Wu Junshan was extremely intelligent. He immediately sensed that something was amiss. Suppressing his anger, he repeated, "First elder, see the guest out." The head elder stood up, but did not send Granny Li away. Instead, he faced Wu Junshan and said, "Sect Master, Palace Master Li and the old sect master are old friends. Seeing that something is wrong with the martial sect, of course she has the right to ask." Nonsense. Hearing this, Wu Junshan immediately concluded that there was something fishy about the other party. They really did not come with good intentions. Bang! He slammed his palm on the armrest of the chair, making a loud noise. He shouted, "How can an outsider interfere in the martial sect's affairs? Head elder, as an old member of the martial sect, don't you understand this principle?" The head elder was not afraid at all. He said, "Of course I understand, but this matter concerns the survival of the martial sect. I cannot turn a blind eye." "A bunch of nonsense. Sect master, then let me ask you a question. We have already confirmed that the deaths of the third and fourth brothers are related to Tang Zheng, and he is a cultivator. Why did you order not to deal with him? What is the meaning of this?" The head elder asked in a powerful voice. "I am the sect master. I have my own considerations. Why do I need to explain to you? If that is the case, then why don't the sect master dispel my doubts and tell me what your considerations are?" The head elder pressed on. "You don't need to know." Humph. Humph. Could it be that there is some secret that cannot be revealed? The great elder's eyes were like torches as he stared fixedly at Wu Junshan. Wu Junshan did not budge an inch. Their eyes met, and neither of them showed any signs of weakness. Wu eavesdropped on the conversation from outside the door. Seeing the great elder pressing on step by step and the sect master not explaining, she became worried. Of course she knew why the sect master did this. It was because Tang Zheng was his son. However, from the attitude of the sect master and mistress, they did not wish for others to know about this matter. Then the sect master would definitely not be able to explain it. If he could not explain it, then he would not be able to satisfy the great elder. What should he do now? Wu was rather respectful to the elders, But this kind of respect was much worse than the respect he had for the sect master, especially when she saw the great elder bringing an outsider to the sect master to denounce him. Her impression of the great elder plummeted. The two of them being so aggressive towards the sect master made her extremely angry. She rushed in with large strides and complained, "Great elder, how can you speak to the sect master like that?" Everyone's attention was immediately attracted to Wu. The great elder's face was ashen as he said, "Wu, this is none of your business." Scram. However, it was as if Wu's feet had grown roots as he did not move an inch. Instead, he glared at the great elder and said indignantly, "Great elder, this is our martial sect's business. How can we let outsiders interfere? This is simply a joke to outsiders. What do you know? This is not the place for you to speak. I'll say it again." Scram. The great elder roared at the top of his lungs. Marshall remained motionless. Grammarly looked at Wu with a smile and said in a strange tone, "This must be sect master Wu's disciple. He, truly a famous teacher produces a brilliant disciple. He even dares to be so disrespectful to an elder." If the old sect master were to know of this, I wonder what he would think. In front of outsiders, a junior dared to speak to him in such a manner. It was truly disrespectful. The great elder was so angry that smoke came out of his 7 orifices. His face was red as he roared, "Since you don't know the rules, then I'll teach you the rules so that outsiders won't laugh at you." As soon as he finished speaking, he charged towards Wu like a bolt of lightning. Wu was shocked. The great elder actually dared to teach her a lesson in front of outsiders. Not only was this a slap to her face, it was also a slap to the sect master's face. Since when did the great elder dare to act so recklessly? Of course, Wu was not a match for the great elder. Just as he was about to move, he was locked onto by the other party's gaze. No matter what he did, he was unable to escape that slap. Wu did not care about being injured. It could even be said that death was not regrettable. However, he cared about the sect master's face. "Stop!" Wu Junshan angrily roared. He had already disappeared from his chair and was standing in front of Wu. He reached out his hand to block. With a pung sound, the great elder flew backwards. He staggered as he landed on the ground. He was in an extremely sorry state. Wu's heart still had lingering fear, but she also let out a sigh of relief. She was pleasantly surprised as she looked at the back of the figure in front of her. The sect master was too good to her. Not only was he her master, he taught her profound martial arts. He also protected her in all aspects. He did not even hesitate to use force against the great elder. "Pa pa pa." Crisp applause rang out. Grammarly clapped her hands with a face full of smiles and said, "Wonderful." Sect Master Wu did not hesitate to use force against an elder for his disciple. He truly is a role model for a master. Wu Junshan frowned and said, "Palace Master Li, the martial sect does not welcome you. Please leave." If you want to drive me away, it won't be that easy. If this matter is not cleared up, I will not leave," Grandma Li said. The great elder also stood beside Grandma Li and said, "If we do not clear up this matter, we will not be able to face the spirit of the old sect master in heaven. It is possible that the 100 years of the martial sect's foundation will be destroyed in a day. Palace Master Li is an honored guest that I invited to be a witness to this matter. Sect Master, today we must get to the bottom of this matter. Why exactly are you protecting that Tangjun?" Wu Junshan coldly snorted and did not comment. Chapter 542. Granny Li looked at Wu Junshan thoughtfully and asked, "Sect Master Wu, may I ask where your wife went?" Wu Junshan's expression did not change, but his heart skipped a beat. Even he did not know where his wife went. Ever since that incident, he and his wife had been separated. Although the matter of his wife going out was very strange, he did not look into it and was perfunctorily brushed aside by Wu. Seeing that Wu Junshan took the initiative to mention it, he suddenly had a bad premonition. "She went out to travel." Haha, is that so? As far as I know, in the past 20 years, she has never taken half a step out of the martial organization. Why is she in the mood to travel now? Granny Li asked. A person's mood changes. She didn't like to go out before, but that doesn't mean she won't like to go out now or in the future. Don't tell me you don't even understand this principle? Wu Junshan asked. Granny Li did not mind, and the smile on her face became even wider. Sect Master Wu's words are really sharp. If I didn't know where your wife went, I might have been stumped by your question. Wu Junshan's eyelids twitched, and he subconsciously looked at Wu. Wu's face flashed with panic. Li Palace controlled the world's intelligence. Could it be that they really found the whereabouts of Master's wife? She faintly had a bad premonition. Asterisk, 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 my disciple once told me a strange thing. The wife of the martial organization's sect master left the martial organization for no reason and went to see that cultivator called Tang Zheng. Moreover, she even started a massacre for him? I really can't figure out the mystery behind this. I wonder if Sect Master Wu can tell me a thing or two. Granny Li directly exposed the loophole in Wu Junshan's words. Wu Junshan's mouth twitched. This was indeed out of his expectations. Even he did not know the whereabouts of his wife, but she was discovered by the Li Palace. But why did his wife go find Tang Zheng? Could it be that she knew about that matter? She did not ask about the affairs of the sect all year round, so who told her? Wu. Suddenly, this name came out from the bottom of his heart. He immediately turned to look at his disciple and found that her expression was indeed strange. As the person who had raised her since she was young, he knew her as well as her father. From this slight change, he could tell that she had lied to him. She definitely knew about this matter, and it was very likely that she had leaked the truth to his wife. He tried his best to conceal this matter, but he did not expect that Wu Yu would tell his wife, leading to the current situation. For a moment, he was a little flustered, but as the sect master of the martial arts sect, his ability to adapt on the spot was unparalleled. He immediately calmed down and glared at Granny Li, saying, "This is my family's business. There's no need to tell you." Granny Li smiled, and the wrinkles on her face blossomed, making her look somewhat sinister. She turned her eyes and glanced at the Great Elder. The Great Elder tacitly understood and immediately took over the conversation. He righteously said, "Sect Master, this is not your family's matter, but a major matter that concerns the martial sect. You must make it clear." Wu Junshan was enraged. "Grand Elder, since when is it your turn to question me? Who taught you the rules? This is going against your superiors, do you understand? That's not right. When the old sect master passed the position to you, he clearly said that the four of us would assist you in governing the martial arts sect, so as to prevent you from making any mistakes. Although third brother and fourth brother are no longer here, second brother and I have the responsibility and obligation to correct your mistakes in time, so as to prevent the martial sect from being led into a situation of eternal damnation." The Great Elder said with certainty, "I am the sect master. How can you interfere with my words and actions? Grand Elder, you have colluded with outsiders to interfere with the martial arts sect's matters. You have already broken the rules set by our ancestors. Are you forcing me to use the family's laws?" Wu Junshan was a smart person. He took the initiative to point out that the other side had colluded with outsiders. This was a crime that all the sects and personnel hated. No one liked people who lived off others while helping others. But the Great Elder was not intimidated by this crime. He fearlessly said, "Do you want to use this crime to nail me to death?" Humph! The old sect master had long expected this day to come. He left behind a personal letter. "If you do not listen to the advice of us elders, we have the right to remove you from the position of sect master and find someone else to replace you." As he spoke, he carefully took out a tightly wrapped letter from his bosom. Unfolding it, it was surprisingly carved with words. "Take a look and see if this is the old sect master's handwriting?" the Great Elder asked proudly. Wu Junshan's pupils shrank as he stared at the letter. His mind was greatly shaken. Of course, he recognized the old sect master's handwriting. Without a doubt, this was the old sect master's handwriting. Moreover, it was as the Great Elder said. If Wu Junshan did not listen to the Elder's advice and did something harmful to the martial arts sect, the Elders had the right to remove him and replace him with someone else. When he passed the position to me, he was actually on guard against me. No wonder he appointed the 4 Elders to assist me. This is to monitor me and be on guard against me. Wu Junshan silently thought. He had a close relationship with the old sect master. Like Wu Junshan, he was also an orphan raised by the old sect master. The two of them were like father and son. However, he never thought that the old sect master would be on guard against him. Knowing this fact really caused him to have mixed feelings, and his heart was as cold as ice. A person he respected and trusted had been on guard against him from the beginning to the end, treating him like an enemy. This feeling could only be best understood by the person involved. Of course, he did not suspect that the Great Elder had forged this letter. Because each stroke was carved with a knife and an axe, no one else could forge the charm. However, Wu Junshan's reaction was extremely fast. A strange look flashed across his face, but he immediately calmed down and shouted, "Ridiculous, Great Elder. You colluded with outsiders to steal my sect master's position. You are truly deranged. You actually used such a despicable method. You did not hesitate to imitate the old sect master's handwriting to force me to do it. However, you are wrong. If I really did do it, then the old sect master would not be able to rest in peace. Since you colluded with outsiders, then you are a traitor of the martial sect." "Men!" Wu Junshan roared, and a group of people rushed in through the door. "The Great Elder has colluded with outsiders with ill intentions. He has already betrayed the martial sect. Capture him." Wu Junshan took the initiative and announced righteously. Everyone looked at each other, not knowing what to do. The Great Elder's face was ashen as he roared angrily, "Wu Junshan, you are slandering me. You clearly have an ulterior motive. Not only did you go against the martial sect's principles, you may even lead the martial sect to eternal damnation. That's why you're the traitor of the martial sect. Disciples of the martial sect, listen to my orders. We've already removed Wu Junshan from the position of sect leader. Capture him and punish him." The two of them spoke righteously. Everyone looked at each other, not knowing who to listen to. After all, these two were the highest in the martial sect. Seeing this, Wu Junshan stomped his foot and shouted angrily, "Are you going to disobey?" Everyone's heart trembled. No longer daring to hesitate, they swarmed towards the Great Elder. The Great Elder was furious as he shouted, "You dare to listen to the orders of a traitor? Death is not enough. I will help the sect master clean up the sect." The Great Elder was like a fierce tiger descending from the mountain as he rushed into the crowd. Every move he made was extremely ruthless. All of them were killing moves. The people at the front immediately fell to the ground, blood splattering everywhere. Blood immediately filled the air, stimulating people's nerves, causing the blood in their blood vessels to become restless. Granny Lee was still smiling. No one could get close to her. She was like an outsider spectator, watching the group of people kill each other. Her wrinkles relaxed. "Hee hee, interesting. I didn't expect to see such a good show after following the sect master's orders to come to the martial sect." No wonder the revered lord was still worried about Wu Junshan and wanted to test him again. This person is really not easy to control. He is decisive when it comes to killing, and his mind is sharp. If not for sufficient preparation, I'm afraid that the backup plan left behind by the old sect leader would be useless, unable to withstand a single blow. Granny Lee silently pondered as she turned her gaze towards Wu Junshan. His eyes were filled with murderous intent, and his tall stature gave him the aura of an ambitious and ruthless person. An ambitious and ruthless person? There are many ambitious and ruthless people in this world, but they are not worth mentioning in front of the sect master. The martial sect and the Li Palace are the sect master's chess pieces. How could the sect master watch as the chess pieces leave his hands? Since Wu Junshan is not sensible, then we'll get rid of him and find another obedient person for this position. Who dares to touch the Great Elder? Do you want a rebel? Suddenly, a group of people rushed in and one of them shouted. This person was the second elder, who was ranked second among the 4 Great Elders. When he saw the Great Elder being besieged in the crowd, he was unable to restrain his anger. He instantly understood what was going on and immediately shouted, "Boss, don't worry, I'm here to save you. Everyone, listen up. Wu Junshan has already betrayed the martial sect. He no longer has the qualifications to be our sect leader. Now, we must clean up the sect. Anyone who dares to help Wu Junshan will be killed without question. As soon as he finished speaking, he rushed in with the people behind him. Suddenly, the hall became extremely crowded with hundreds of people. These people were not mediocre. There was no lack of post-celestial and post-celestial experts. When they rushed in, the momentum was terrifying. Soon, blood flowed like a river and many people fell on the ground. They might have been fellow disciples drinking and chatting merrily yesterday, but today, they had become life and death enemies, pointing their swords at each other. Life was full of changes. It was just like that. Seeing people fall one by one, Wu Junshan's breathing could not help but quicken. In fact, he had only taken over the position of sect master for a few years. In the past, the old sect master's authority was very strong. When he was alive, he had perfect control over the martial sect. In these years, Wu Junshan had worked hard to gradually establish his prestige and nurture many rising stars. These people were different from the old generals. These people were only loyal to him and not the old sect master. However, the strength of the great elders could not be underestimated. They had inherited many people who were loyal to the old sect master. These people were mostly veterans who had experienced hundreds of battles. When they killed, they were especially fierce. Chapter 543. Wu Junshan felt as if a knife was being twisted in his heart as he watched his fellow disciples fall into a pool of blood. Wu Junshan was furious and was about to charge into the battle, but Wu Junshan was one step ahead of her. His figure flashed and blended into the crowd. Bang, bang, bang. Everywhere he passed, people were sent flying, and all of them fell to the ground far away. No one could stop his powerful attack. However, he didn't kill them. After all, they were his subordinates. Elders, look at what you've done, Wu Junshan roared. He was already in front of the first elder. The first elder hurriedly retreated, but there was no way he could escape. Wu Junshan drew a circle in the air with one hand, and the first elder was enveloped by a vast power. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't escape the circle. Wu Junshan's palm was like thunder, hitting the first elder's chest. The first elder staggered back, but Wu Junshan quickly caught up and grabbed his arm. With a tug, the first elder bounced back and was about to fall into Wu Junshan's palm. Wu Junshan's series of attacks were as fast as lightning. Although the first elder was also a master, the difference between them was like heaven and earth. Seeing this, the second elder wanted to help, but it was too late. The people who followed Wu Junshan's orders were all excited. This was the real master of a sect. This aura, this method, no one in the sect could be his opponent. No matter what tricks they played, they couldn't withstand a single blow from this absolute power. However, some people weren't optimistic. Wu kept frowning as she looked at Granny Li. Suddenly, she saw a blur in front of her, and Granny Li disappeared. In the next second, she appeared between the first elder and Wu Junshan. She tapped the air with her walking stick. There was nothing strange about it, as if it was an ordinary attack. However, the aura created by Wu Junshan collapsed, causing the first elder to heave a sigh of relief. Wu Junshan didn't retreat. Instead, he quickly followed. His 5 fingers had already locked the first elder's shoulder blade, preventing him from moving. Although the great elder was a martial scholar, he was still like a puppet in Wu Junshan's hands. He was in a very sorry state. Granny Li chuckled and pointed her crutch at Wu Junshan's wrist. This time, it was not pointed at the void, but at Wu Junshan's wrist. It was so fast and accurate that it was impossible to dodge. Wu Junshan's expression changed, but he still didn't retreat. He let out a low roar and drew a circle in front of his chest with his other hand. The air vibrated, enveloping the incoming crutch. Boom! Chi energy flew out in all directions, as if they were blown away by a tornado. One after another, they staggered backwards. Those who were not strong enough even fell on their butts on the ground, looking extremely pathetic. Wu Junshan only saw a silhouette flash before his hands were empty. The great elder was actually snatched away by Granny Li. Granny Li quickly retreated and pulled away from Wu Junshan. Marshall's mind was greatly shaken. The sect master had always been an invincible figure in her heart, But in this exchange of blows, he had actually fallen into a disadvantageous position. This caused her to be extremely shocked. Biting her lips, she really wanted to go up and help the sect master. However, she knew that in a battle of this level, her cultivation was not even qualified to be a bystander. On the contrary, she would only add fuel to the fire. Wu Junshin's face was gloomy. There was not much change in his mind, but a storm had already set off in his heart. There seemed to be only a fine line between the 8th level and the 7th level of the Master Realm, but the real gap between the two sides was not to be underestimated. For example, this time, Granny Li had seized the initiative and seized the opportunity to snatch the Great Elder from him. Granny Li's smile disappeared. She said, "Sect Master Wu's martial arts are really powerful. However, with me here, it is indeed impossible for you to kill these two elders. Sect Master Li, do you really want to get involved in this matter? This will make the martial organization and Li Palace enemies, and they will fight to the death." Wu Junshan asked in a deep voice. Haha, the relationship between the Li Palace and the martial sect is not something that can be clearly explained in a few words, and they are certainly not the old enemies you speak of. As for the specifics, the elders that followed the old sect master for most of his life are the clearest. Although you are the successor chosen by the old sect master did not stop telling you the details. This is a test for you. Now it seems that you have not passed the old sect master's test, and your position as the sect master no longer exists. Granny Li said slowly, "Ridiculous. How can an outsider like you be qualified to say such words?" Wu roared in anger. Granny Li did not care and said, "It is useless for you to argue. The current situation is the best evidence. If you continue to fight, then the martial organization's 100 years of foundation will really be destroyed." Humph. Letting you people take charge of the martial organization is really destroying it, Wu retorted. Granny Li did not care and looked at the two elders. The two elders understood and said in a clear voice, "In the name of the elders, we announce that Wu Junshan has colluded with cultivators and violated the martial organization's sect master. He will be stripped of his position as the sect master, expelled from the martial organization, and killed on the spot." Everyone started whispering to each other. Many of them did not believe that the sect leader would collude with the cultivators. These martial organization people had been instilled with a viewpoint since they were young, and that was to eliminate the cultivators by the roots and not leave behind any future troubles. Many people who originally believed in Wu Junshan refuted loudly, "Nonsense. How could the sect master collude with cultivators? You are slandering him." "Is that so? Then why don't you ask him yourself and see if he is protecting that cultivator called Tangzheng? Just what kind of unspeakable relationship does he have with the other?" The great elder said proudly. "Sect master, quickly say it. All of this is nonsense. There is no such thing." Immediately, everyone looked at the sect master excitedly, waiting for his answer. Wu Junshin's expression was normal, but he was speechless. "Hehe, do you see? He has no way of answering. That means he is admitting it. This is the sect master that you all are protecting. If he is not betraying the martial organization, then what is he?" The great elder struck while the iron was hot and said impatiently. The martial organization's rules were deeply ingrained in everyone's heart. Although they respected the sect master, they respected the martial organization's rules even more. Or they believed in the martial organization's rules. They were taught to kill cultivators since they were young. At this moment, they were suddenly told that the sect master that they respected was protecting cultivators and even colluding with them. This was simply the greatest blow to their faith, causing their confidence to sway. The great elder was very clear on this point, so he cleverly used this point. In an instant, many people who had pledged their allegiance to Wu Junshan began to waver. Of course, after all these years, Wu Junshan was not completely useless. There were still many people who believed him and angrily rebuked the great elder for spouting nonsense. Even if the sect master really did so, he had other intentions. He definitely did not betray the martial organization. The two elders' eyes flashed with pride. They looked at each other, then cupped their hands towards Grandma Li and said in a clear voice, "Palace Master Li, a traitor has appeared in the martial organization, and this trader's cultivation is high. We know that we are not his opponent. Palace Master Li, as the old sect master's close friend, we beg you to help us clean up the sect. His words were powerful and impassioned. Many people chimed in. Palace Master Li, please be righteous and help us clean up the sect. You are all crazy, shameless. Wu Junshan was so angry that he stomped his feet and cursed loudly. With Wu Junshan's style of doing things, she would never lose her composure like this, much less curse people like this. It could be seen how intense the anger in her heart was at this moment. Grandma Li nodded towards the two elders and smiled proudly. Ha ha, I am indebted to the two elders and the old sect master's kindness. Then this old one will not refuse and help you. Finished speaking, she turned to look at Wu Junshan. Sect Master Wu, no, you are no longer the sect master. You should be called Wu Junshan. You betrayed the martial organization. Today, I will help them clean up the sect. Wu Junshan sneered. Ridiculous, Grandma Li. You are really powerful. I am afraid that in the future, there will no longer be a martial organization, but only the Li Palace. What he meant was that the Li Palace wanted to annex the martial organization. Grandma Li said, that is wrong. The Li Palace and the martial organization are connected. Of course, they will coexist in this world. The relationship between the Li Palace and the martial organization is not something you can imagine. Maybe when you go underground, you can ask the old sect master for advice, and he will answer for you. Wu Junshan was even more puzzled. From beginning to end, the other party had said that the relationship between the martial organization and the Li Palace was not shallow, but Wu Junshan had never known this. Even when the old sect master was alive, the two organizations did not have much interaction, which made him puzzled. In addition, looking at the other party's confident manner, it was not a lie, which meant that there were many things between the martial organization and the Li Palace that he did not know. As the leader of a sect, he knew nothing about these things. This was definitely something that the old sect leader had deliberately concealed. Furthermore, the four elders had received the old sect leader's orders and kept him in the dark. This feeling of being deceived was extremely unpleasant. Moreover, because of the matter with Tang Zhang, he had some complaints about the old sect master, but this feeling was always buried in the bottom of his heart. Now it seemed that the old sect master was far-sighted and seemed to have sensed his thoughts, so he had always been on guard against him. Thinking of this, Wu Junshan could not help but feel bored. In the first half of his life, he had almost sacrificed his son, but in exchange, he had been deceived and guarded. This made his heart turn cold, and he gradually lost hope in the martial organization. The hidden hatred for the old sect master grew stronger and stronger. It seems that you have many schemes that cannot be seen. Fine, since it is so, then I will not be the sect master. From now on, we will not interfere with each other's business. Wu Junshan said hatefully. The two elders were secretly delighted, their eyes shining with starlight. But many people advised, Sect Master, this is the enemy's scheme. You cannot fall into their trap. You are our Sect Master, forever our Sect Master. Wu also advised, Sect Master, please reconsider. I have made up my mind. Wu Junshan said firmly. During this period of time, he had been hiding his relationship with Tang Zhang, but he had also been secretly working hard. He had ordered Wu to bring Tang Zhang back to the martial organization at all costs, just to give his wife a surprise and make up for the mistakes of the past. Of course, he had misjudged the situation. That was, the elders were not sincere in their allegiance to him, but had other intentions. Chapter 544. Wu Junshan had already made up his mind. I have made up my mind. There is no need to persuade me. From now on, we have nothing to do with each other. With that, he strode out of the door. Sovereign, I will go with you. Wu Junshan started to leave. Sounds of agreement could be heard from the crowd. Sovereign, we will follow you no matter where you go. In the end, 30 people followed behind Wu Junshan without hesitation. The two elders looked cold. They didn't expect so many people to follow Wu Junshan. They couldn't help but feel a little scared. If they let him run the sect for a few more years, maybe most people would listen to his orders. Then it would be impossible to remove him from the position of sovereign. Stop! Suddenly, the great elder shouted. Since you are no longer part of the martial organization, and you have colluded with cultivators, you are the enemies of the martial organization. The martial organization has never treated their enemies gently, but like a storm. Today, none of you will leave this place. Of course, the elders wouldn't let the tiger return to the mountain. They were very clear that with Wu Junshin's talent, his future was limitless. If they didn't kill him today, they would be in great danger in the future. These old men who had experienced countless storms were all vicious and merciless people. Their attitude was firm and decisive. They definitely wouldn't leave behind any future troubles. Wu Junshan and the others stopped and looked at each other in disbelief. You want to kill us all? Hasn't the martial organization always treated their enemies like this? The great elder asked. Equals, if you want to keep us here, we will have to see if you have the ability. Wu Junshan was not afraid at all. Haha, of course they can't keep you here. Do you think I have the ability? Granny Li stood up again with a smile on her face. There was no doubt that she had decided to get into this mess to the end. Wu Junshan said, Fine. I have always wanted to experience Grandma Li's skills. Today is a good opportunity. You guys go first. I will follow. No, we won't go. We will advance and retreat with the sovereign. Wu Junshan said loudly. The others nodded in agreement. The great elder sneered. Stop arguing. No one can leave. Since you are so loyal to him, of course you will follow him to the underworld. Do you really not care about the friendship between fellow disciples? Wu Junshan asked. The elder sneered. Clearly, he would not show the slightest bit of mercy. Everyone, I, Wu Junshan, am not worthy of your respect and love. Since that's the case, let's kill our way out and see who can stop us. Wu Junshan said vehemently. Kill our way out. Kill our way out. The crowd was stirred up. Let's do it. Seeing that their morale was high, the elder didn't waste any more time lest anything unexpected happened. He gave the order with a loud shout. Kill. Their shouts shook the sky, as if they wanted to lift the roof. The crowd immediately started fighting again. A few people had just gotten close to Wu Junshin's body when they were sent flying. Wu Junshan had just wanted to charge and kill them. No matter how many enemies there were, they wouldn't be able to withstand a charge from an expert like him. But how could Granny Li let him do as he wished? She fiercely tapped the ground with her crutch and soared into the air, attacking Wu Junshan from mid-air. Wu Junshan looked up and drew 3 circles in front of his chest with his hands. A surge of inner strength surged out from the circles and met the crutch head-on. With a pop, it was like a sharp weapon had popped a bubble. The air shook in all directions, but the crutch continued to attack Wu Junshan like a hot knife through butter. Every move was a fierce killing move. Obviously, Granny Li didn't show any mercy. This was her style. Once she had decided on something, she would do it without hesitation. This matter was personally instructed by the High Lord, so of course she didn't dare to be negligent. The martial organization and Li Palace were the 2 chess pieces in the High Lord's hands. Now that one of the chess pieces was disobedient, she naturally had to ensure that this chess piece returned to the right path. For someone like Wu Junshan who disrupted the game, she would not show the slightest bit of mercy. The High Lord is really observant. He didn't miss a single detail and killed all the dangerous factors in the cradle. Granny Li was full of admiration. Only after fighting with Wu Junshan did she understand how powerful he was. In the future, she really would not be able to deal with him. Moreover, she believed that he had a better chance of breaking through to the Martial King realm in the future than she did. Leaving such a disaster alive would be a huge problem for her, Li Palace, and even the High Lord. Granny Li's eyes were filled with killing intent. With a low shout, the strength of the crutch in her hand increased by 30%. She was determined to kill Wu Junshan in one hit. Wu Junshan had nowhere to retreat. His hands continued to draw circles in front of his chest. This time, it wasn't just 1 circle, but 9 in the blink of an eye. The air rippled, forming circles that wrapped around the crutch's earth-shattering attack. Wu Junshan, your yin-yang harmony balance has reached such a level. You can draw 9 circles in one breath. You're almost as good as the old patriarch back then. You're really a martial arts genius. Unfortunately, you're still not as good as me." Granny Lee's expression changed slightly. The crutch had already landed, breaking the first circle, and its strength was reduced by a portion. When the 9 circles were broken one by one, the crutch was only left with a portion of its strength when it was in front of Wu Junshin's chest. However, even with just a portion of its strength, its power was terrifying. The crutch hit Wu Junshin's chest. Poof! A pillar of blood spurted out. However, at this critical moment, Wu Junshan grabbed the crutch. The crutch had used up all its strength and could not move forward anymore. A trace of blood flowed out from the corner of Wu Junshin's mouth, but his eyes were bright like the sun, so bright that it made people panic. Granny Lee's heart skipped a beat. She had an ominous premonition, but she did not know where it came from. Wu Junshan opened his mouth and shouted, "Shadow, do it!" Swoosh! A sword light lit up on the ground without any warning. Once it lit up, it was like a scorching sun, so bright and blazing that people could not look at it directly. This sword light appeared behind Granny Lee, so it was impossible to guard against it. This crowded hall was filled with people. Everyone was surrounded by many people, so no one expected such a sword master to be hiding among them. Although Granny Lee didn't see this sword, she could judge the power of this sword just by feeling it. The person who made this move was definitely not an ordinary person. The key point was that the other party's whereabouts were mysterious and had escaped her detection, which was very terrifying. Her crutch was grabbed by Wu Junshan, so she had no weapon to block this sword. Moreover, it was too late. The attacker had calculated the timing and could not afford to make any mistakes. The only thing Granny Lee could do was to quickly circulate her martial arts and adjust her body slightly to avoid her vital parts. The sword that was supposed to be aimed at her heart missed by a few centimeters and went through her shoulder blade. Blood immediately flowed out from the sword. Poof! The long sword was immediately pulled out from her body, leaving behind a trail of blood. Granny Lee shouted. She took a deep breath and regained her strength. Her arm shook and the crutch shook violently, breaking free from Wu Junshin's hand. Wu Junshan took a step back and did not follow up with another attack. After the opponent regained her strength, it would not be so easy to attack again. Moreover, that sword had taken advantage of the right time and place. It could not be used again. Although it could not kill the opponent, it had injured her, which was very rare. It was very difficult for an expert like Granny Lee to injure her. Granny Lee quickly turned around, but she didn't see the person who hurt her. Even the sword had disappeared without a trace. Moreover, there were so many people in the crowd who were using swords. How could she tell who was the real attacker? The 2 elders were also shocked by this scene. Even they didn't see the person who made the move. They only saw the resplendent sword light, and then the sword light disappeared as if it had never appeared. How could there be such a sword master in the crowd? As elders of the martial arts sect, how could they know nothing about this? Almost everyone immediately turned their attention to Wu Junshan. Although he had taken a blow to the chest and his clothes were dyed red with blood, he still looked dignified and imposing. Moreover, from the calm expression on his face, he was still confident and powerful. Where did this confidence come from? It was probably due to the shadow he had just shouted. Who was the shadow? How could there be a shadow in the martial arts sect? The shadow had mixed in with the crowd. Everyone subconsciously stopped fighting and looked at each other. Anyone could be the shadow. Granny Lee stopped the bleeding and asked in surprise, "Is the shadow someone you secretly cultivated?" Wu Junshan smiled but did not say anything. "Amazing. It seems that you even fooled the old sect leader. You are really good at hiding things." Granny Lee clicked her tongue in admiration. She couldn't help but admire Wu Junshan. Not only was his cultivation high, but his shrewdness was also unfathomable. The shadow that he had secretly cultivated was definitely a master-level expert. How old was Wu Junshan to have cultivated such a shadow expert? Then, how early did he carry out this plan? The key was that he had fooled everyone, including the martial arts sect people who had been with him day and night. This was not easy to do. Granny Lee could not help but feel a chill. If this kind of person was released, there would be endless trouble in the future. But she knew that with the threat of the shadow, unless she risked her life, there was no way she could stop Wu Junshan. Wu Junshan's plan was flawless, so he was not afraid. Wu Junshan, it turns out that you have been disloyal for a long time. You really hit it well. The first elder complained in fear. He realized that he had underestimated the opponent. If he did not report this to the sect leader and invite Granny Lee, he would really fail miserably. But now, although he had not failed, this plan was equivalent to failure. He and Granny Lee had the same idea. The threat of the invisible shadow was enough to make them hesitate. Only those who had sworn to follow Wu Junshan to their deaths were inspired. They thought that they would definitely die, but now it seemed that there was a turning point. Of course, many people looked around, trying to find the mysterious shadow. But where was the shadow? Chapter 545. Wu Junshan faced Granny Lee and the others, his gaze as sharp as a knife. With a heavy snort, he walked out in large strides without fear. Granny Lee's eyes fluctuated as she struggled with her heart, but in the end, she remained indifferent. The others did not dare to act rashly and could only watch as they left. The great elder anxiously said, "Palace Master Lee, you can't let them go." Granny Lee remained expressionless and did not move. The great elder was stunned, knowing that persuasion was useless. With just the few of them, wanting to stop Wu Junshan was tantamount to a fool's dream. Granny Lee's pair of small eyes gradually narrowed into slits as she stared at the people walking out one by one, as if trying to distinguish who the mysterious shadow was. However, even when everyone left the hall, she did not notice anything strange. Thinking about it, it was reasonable. Since this shadow had been hiding in the martial sect for such a long time, even keeping the old sect leader and a few elders in the dark, he must be extremely careful. It was easier said than done to catch him. Seeing the group disappear, the two elders heavily pounded the wall and unwillingly vented. Letting them go like this is the same as letting a tiger return to the mountain. Granny Lee gently glanced at them and said, "Wu Junshan has been in the martial organization for so many years, but none of you noticed. That's why he could safely leave without fear." The two were immediately speechless and could not help but feel ashamed. We have let the old sect master down. But what should we do next? Since he is so protective of that Tangzheng, let's first find out what their relationship is. Granny Lee hit the nail on the head. The two looked at each other in dismay, unable to figure out the relationship between the two. They hung their heads dejectedly like defeated soldiers. Wu Junshan led a group of people and quickly left the martial organization, only stopping when they were more than 100 li away. Everyone looked at Wu Junshan. After so many years, these people had long regarded the martial organization as their home. Now that their home was gone, where should they go? Wu Yi looked at Wu Junshan with worry and asked, "Sect Master, what should we do next?" Wu Junshan said, "From now on, don't call me Sect Master, because I am no longer the Sect Master of the martial sect." Everyone's expression changed. Although they had left the martial sect, these people still treated him as the sect leader. Thus, someone hurriedly advised, "Sect leader, you must not. You will always be our sect leader. Although you have left the martial sect, we can establish another martial sect. We will follow you forever. We must make the new martial sect bigger and stronger and suppress the original martial sect." Wu Junshan waved his hand and signaled for everyone to be quiet. He said firmly, "I will not turn back. Since I have nothing to do with the martial sect, I will not establish a new martial sect. Then we can establish other organizations. As long as the sect leader is here, we can work together. We can definitely achieve something." Everyone hurriedly advised. Wu Yi hurriedly nodded. Obviously, she also thought so. She did not think that such a small setback would defeat him. He would definitely regain his glory and let his enemies know what fear was and what regret was. Wu Junshan's expression was resolute as he made up his mind. "There is no point in saying more. I am very grateful that you all left the martial organization with me. It has been hard on you all these years. From now on, you are free. Without the martial organization's restrictions, you can all swim freely in the vast sea and fly freely in the sky. With your abilities, you will definitely be able to make a name for yourself in this world. Wu Junshan never worried about the livelihood of his subordinates. These people all had their own abilities and would not be at a disadvantage no matter where they went. In the future, they might even become a tyrant of a region. However, these people did not think so. Wu Junshan was their backbone. Without him, they would be like a sheet of loose sand. They would be like wandering ghosts without a master. No matter how many opportunities there were, they would not take a second look. Therefore, although Wu Junshan had only been in charge of the martial organization for a few years, his methods of controlling his subordinates were indeed very powerful. He could make his subordinates believe in him wholeheartedly and not use some benefits to rope them in. This was one of the rarest qualities of a leader. Previously, these people could bravely kill their enemies without batting an eyelid. However, after listening to Wu Junshan's arrangements, many of them revealed looks of fear and their eyes began to turn red. Putong. Someone knelt down in front of Wu Junshan, and then more and more people knelt down in front of him, sincerely persuading him, "Sect leader, I beg you to take back the order just now and lead us back to our former glory. Let those shameless people see how powerful sect leader is, and see how great of a loss Wu Zong will suffer without sect leader." Rows of 9-foot-tall men knelt down in front of Wu Junshan, crying. This scene was very touching. Even Wu Junshan could not help but be moved. Seeing Wu Junshan's hesitant expression, Wu Junshan's legs went soft and he knelt heavily on the ground. The stone floor under his knees cracked in half. He then heard Wu Junshan say with great emotion, "Sect leader, please lead us to kill the enemies. Let us follow you until death." Wu Junshan's eyes also turned red. Humans were not plants. How could they be emotionless? Although Wu Junshan had cultivated the habit of being indifferent, seeing this group of sincere people, how could he not be moved? He was silent for a long time. One by one, he helped the kneeling people up and said, "I, Wu Junshan, am not worthy enough to make you so loyal. Good. Since you have entrusted your lives to me, I, Wu Junshan, will not let you down. We swear to rise again and fight in the Jianghu." The crowd was moved. Many people were so excited that they were trembling. Their eyes were shining with passion. Although some were injured, their bodies were filled with endless energy. If they were allowed to continue fighting, they would not hesitate to charge into the battlefield. "Then where are we going now?" Wu Junshan said. "We have our own place. Wu, come with me. I have something for you to do." The two walked to the side. Wu Junshan took out a package and handed it to her. "Wu, I want you to go to ordinary balance and give these things to Tang Zheng." "What is this?" Wu Junshan looked at it curiously. It was the battle spirit sword and 2 sun shooting arrows. These were the weapons that fell into Wu Junshan's hands in the 10,000 huge mountains. This time, it was time to return them to their rightful owners. "Sect leader, are you not going? Since we have left the martial organization, you and I will call each other master and disciple. Moreover, you are also my disciple." "Yes, master. I want to bring this group of people to a safe place. I don't have time to go to ordinary balance. Also, if I go to ordinary balance again, it will be too obvious. It will be easier for Tang Zheng's identity to be exposed." Wu Junshan said worriedly. Wu hesitated for a moment and said, "Master, Tang Zheng and his grandfather have depended on each other for so many years, so he has a lot of resentment towards you and mistress." Wu Junshan revealed a lonely smile and said, "It's just a little resentment. What does it matter? This is human nature. No matter who it is, they will not be able to immediately turn around in this situation. If he sees Master being so open-minded, I'm afraid he will change his mind," Wu said thoughtfully. Wu Junshan shook his head. His attitude is of no concern for the time being. The only thing we need to do is ensure that his identity is not exposed. If his identity is discovered by the Li Palace and the 2 elders, he will be in great danger. Wu nodded as if he understood. "Therefore, when you go to ordinary balance, you must persuade your mistress to leave immediately. At this time, only by staying far away from Tang Zheng will he be safer." Wu Junshan warned. "Will mistress listen to me?" Wu said worriedly. She understood her master's feelings very well. Seeing her meticulous attitude towards Tang Zheng, How could she bear to leave and endure the pain of separation? Your mistress is deeply righteous. He will understand my good intentions. You can just say it. Yes, disciple understands. However, after your mistress leaves, you can stay by Tang Zheng's side. Your goal is much smaller than hers. Moreover, you have been with him for a long time, so others will not be too suspicious. When Wu heard this, he immediately objected, Master, at this time, I can only play a greater role by your side. Moreover, you are in need of people right now. But before she could finish, Wu Junshan waved his hand and interrupted her. Wu Junshan looked at her seriously and said, Wu, you can only play a greater role by staying by Tang Zheng's side. Do you remember when Tang Zheng was unconscious in the 10,000 huge mountains? Martial heartstrings trembled. That was her first time. How could she forget? At that time, it was because of the eruption of pure yang energy that he became in that situation. His body is very special, and who knows when the pure yang energy will erupt, so you have to stay by his side and save his life at this time. Wu Junshan warned. A hint of shyness flashed across Wu's face, but he quickly covered it up and asked nervously, Do you really want to do this? Wu Junshan nodded. Marshal, perhaps this is not fair to you. Wu hurriedly shook his head. No, it was Master who adopted me and taught me martial arts, allowing me to have so many things. This is something I should do. Then I'll leave it to you. Master, you're exaggerating. Where can I find Master after Mistress leaves? When the time comes, I'll naturally contact her. You don't have to worry. You'll be the only one on this journey, so you have to be careful. Right now, the martial organization and the Li Palace are both our enemies. There's danger everywhere. In addition, I suspect that there's an even stronger person behind them. I don't know the origins of these people, but without a doubt, they're definitely not simple. Wu Junshan was a smart person. He had already thought of this point from the clues, so he didn't forget to warn her seriously. Wu was stunned for a moment. She never thought that there would be such a thing. Seeing her master so serious, she also nodded solemnly to show that she understood. However, she still had an unanswered question in her heart. Who exactly was that shadow? Was it among these people? She really wanted to ask, but when the words reached her mouth, she swallowed them back down. This was one of her master's most confidential matters. When it was time for her to know, her master would naturally tell her. Chapter 546. On New Year's Eve, the lanterns were lit, and the lights of thousands of families were incomparably brilliant. From time to time, fireworks would explode in the sky, blooming with gorgeous flowers. Fortunately, although Tang Zheng's house was 2 bedrooms, it was not small, so it did not seem crowded with so many people. The New Year's Eve dinner had already been finished, and the few of them sat together and chatted while watching the Spring Festival Gala. Nana was everyone's happy fruit. She held a few big red packets in her hands, and her pink face was flushed red. It was especially festive and cute. Lan Yu's face was full of smiles. This was the happiest New Year's Eve she had ever had in so many years. Seeing her son's happy expression, her entire heart was about to melt. Mu Hongyan did not know the relationship between Tang Zheng and Lan Yu, but as a mother, she had already guessed some clues from the way Lan Yu looked at Tang Zheng. She could not help but be curious. From Lan Yu's words and actions, it could be seen that her identity was definitely not ordinary. Tang Zheng had such a powerful background. Why would he become an abandoned child? However, Mu Hongyan knew what was proper. If others did not say anything, she would not ask. As for the first year that she had not spent in the Long family, her feelings were especially fresh. Although the New Year's Eve in the Long family was even more extravagant, with all kinds of delicacies filling the table and many servants serving them, she did not feel the feeling of many years. Especially after her husband died, Long Tingyu pestered her endlessly. Every New Year's Eve was like torture to face him face to face. His gaze was as if he wanted to strip her bare, causing her to feel uncomfortable all over. This time, the atmosphere of this small family was what she looked forward to the most, and what she missed the most. She was born in a well-off family. However, her parents died in a car accident when she was an adult, and she became a lonely person. Every new year was like torture. She originally thought that it would be better after marriage, but she did not expect that the atmosphere of the big family would not interest her. At this moment, seeing her daughter's carefree and happy appearance, she felt that her life was truly complete. In the past, she would complain that the heavens were unfair to her, but now, she did not complain, because the appearance of a person had completely changed her life. Looking at Tang Zheng's increasingly mature face, her thoughts became complicated. Suddenly, Linger pointed at the fireworks in the sky and said excitedly, "Master, look at the fireworks in the sky. It's so beautiful." "Those are called fireworks." "Fireworks? Can a cigarette turn into a flower?" Could not figure out the logic behind it. Tang Zheng had an idea and said, "I'll take you downstairs to play. There's something for sale downstairs." When Nana heard this, she jumped off the sofa excitedly and hugged Tang Zheng's leg. She said in a childish voice, "Big brother, Nana wants to set off fireworks too." "Haha, good, let's go down together. I'll bring them down to play for a while. Be careful and come back early," Tang Dehai urged. The few of them quickly went downstairs. There were many people playing downstairs, but fireworks were not allowed in the city, so most of the people were holding small toys. Tang Zheng did not care about this problem. He bought dozens of fireworks, then hugged Nana and held Linger and said, "Let's go to the suburbs to set off fireworks." As soon as they finished speaking, they rushed out like a gust of wind. Under the cover of the night, the three of them passed through the streets and came to the suburbs. Then, they set off fireworks to their heart's content. Ding ling ling. Suddenly, his cell phone rang. Someone was calling. "Tang Zheng, Happy New Year." Yi Dingdong's familiar voice came from the other end of the phone. "Happy New Year. Are you okay now?" Yi Dingdang asked. In this period of time, there were many rumors about Tang Zheng, especially the conflict with the Dragon Group. How could it be hidden from these big families? The Ye family's reaction was not small. Yi Tianlei and Feng Xinyang were both affected, because their relationship with Tang Zheng was not shallow, so Yi Xuanji warned them not to contact Tang Zheng, and not to have anything to do with him again. Yi Xuanji understood very well that the Dragon Group was extremely powerful and represented the government's will. Nothing good would come out of going against the Dragon Group. The official background of the Ye family was not strong to begin with. If they went against the Dragon Group, they would probably suffer a calamity. Yi Xuanji was not as rich and overbearing as Yin Patian, who dared not to sell face to the Dragon Group. In fact, Yi Xuanji had also heard that the Dragon Group and the Song and Chu families seemed to be in secret contact. How could Yi Xuanji not know what these two families were planning? If they were given an excuse at this time, they would definitely use the hands of the fake Dragon Group to deal with the Ye family. Ever since the Chu family's patriarch died at the hands of Tang Zheng, the Chu family had obviously firmly attached themselves to the Song family. This way, the Song family's strength would catch up to the Yin family and completely surpass the Ye family, causing Yi Xuanji to feel endless pressure. Now that they had hooked up with the Dragon Group, it was like adding wings to a tiger. The Ye family's living space was even narrower. Yi Xuanji couldn't help but regret his tacit approval of the relationship between Tang Zheng and Yi Dingdang. Although he had already firmly separated the relationship between the Ye family and Tang Zheng, in the eyes of those who wanted to know, they were still inextricably linked. At this critical moment, of course, he couldn't cause trouble, so he strictly forced Yi Tianlei and his wife to cut off contact with Tang Zheng. In addition, he was very clear about his granddaughter's thoughts, so he had been locking her at home these days and even took away her phone, making it impossible for her to contact Tang Zheng. But everything can't go as one wishes. Feng Xinyang was too clear about his daughter's thoughts, so he took advantage of the New Year's Eve and secretly gave a phone to his daughter, letting her contact Tang Zheng to relieve the pain of lovesickness. "I'm fine. What about you? You lied to me. So many things have happened to you, and you still dare to say that you're fine?" Yi Dingdong's little universe exploded. "Do you know how dangerous it is? When I heard about the things you did, my heart almost jumped out of my throat." Tang Zheng was startled. Yi Dingdong's reaction was really beyond his expectations. Although she was sometimes unruly and a little violent, most of the time she was very calm. Why was she so abnormal this time? However, listening to her heartfelt words, A warm current flowed through Tang Zheng's heart. The feeling of being cared for was really good. Don't be angry. Haven't I already solved those things? It's easy to get old if you get angry. Don't be angry. Tang Zheng hurriedly tried to persuade her. Humph, you think I'm old now, right? Yi Dingdang coquettishly said. I don't dare. You said you don't dare, not know. That is to say, that's what you think in your heart, right? Yi Dingdong's voice rose a bit, as if she was about to flip out. Tang Zheng was endlessly depressed. Why does this woman have the potential to be a detective? She's so good at biting words. Of course, as a person who has already touched the threshold of a relationship, he did not hesitate to answer. Of course not. In my heart, you will always be 18 years old. It's just like when I first saw you when I first walked into the classroom. Humph, that's more like it. I'll consider you a pass. Tang Zheng let out a sigh of relief. When talking to a woman, there could be traps everywhere. It was dangerous and dangerous. It was even more careful than when fighting. You've caused such a big disturbance. My family already forbade me from contacting you. I'm secretly calling you. Yi Dingdang said, feeling wronged. This wasn't out of his expectations. With Yi Xuanji's style, this was within his expectations. Then I'll have to trouble you. Of course it's hard. It's such a cold day, and I'm hiding outside to call you. My hands are almost frozen. What if they don't let me see you when school starts? Yi Dingdang asked worriedly. Tang Zheng said unconcernedly, at that time, they couldn't have been watching you all the time, right? We had plenty of chances. Moreover, even if someone was watching, I would have knocked him out. I definitely can't be merciful to this kind of bad guy. Chapter 547. Tang Zheng looked at Gui Qinsui in surprise and asked, Do you know where it is? Langya Pavilion. There are many cultivation methods collected by the Dragon Clan from all over the world. After the Dragon Clan left, no one cared about Langya Pavilion. Gui Qinsui said, Langya Pavilion? Tang Zheng heard the name for the first time, and it was related to the Dragon Clan. He was very curious. How do you know about it? My ancestor was an important minister of the Dragon Clan. He served the Dragon Clan for thousands of years. Naturally, he knew about it. When I was young, I heard about it from the elders. Gui Qinsui said proudly. Tang Zheng was surprised. He did not expect this old turtle to be a descendant of a famous family. Then where is Langya Pavilion? Gui Qinsui lowered his head and said, I am ashamed. This is an important place of the Dragon Clan. Ordinary people do not know about it. Is it in the Dragon Palace? Gui Qinsui shook his head firmly. Absolutely not. I have lived in the Dragon Palace for so many years. If Langya Pavilion was in the Dragon Palace, it would have been discovered long ago. In fact, although we demon beasts have a long lifespan, if we don't practice the cultivation method, it will only increase our lifespan. It will not help us at all. It is said that there are thousands of cultivation methods in Langya Pavilion. Almost everyone can find the cultivation method that suits them. Gui Qiansui's tone was quite excited. Obviously, he was very eager to find Langya Pavilion. The Dragon Clan has left. Is Langya Pavilion still in this world? Tang Zheng asked suspiciously. Gui Qinsui nodded. Definitely, because Langya Pavilion is a paradise in this world. It can't leave with the Dragon Clan. Suddenly, Tang Zheng's heart was eager. If he could find Langya Pavilion, it would solve his urgent need. Everyone around him could find suitable cultivation methods to practice. It was simply the rhythm of establishing a sect. Unfortunately, only the Dragon Clan knows the location of Langya Pavilion. There is no Dragon Clan in this world. It is like looking for a needle in a haystack. Gui Qinsui said regretfully. Tang Zheng's mouth gradually curled up. Who said there was no Dragon Clan in this world? Wasn't the five-clawed golden dragon under the Palace Dragon Clan? It was just that no one else knew of its existence. He could not wait to return to the capital city and ask the five-clawed golden dragon. On the first day of the new year, there was a new atmosphere for the new year. Tang Zheng took his grandfather and Linger to tour the city for most of the day. They went to the temple fair and enjoyed the lanterns. His grandfather was grinning from ear to ear. In the evening, after sending the two home, Tang Jing secretly met up with Lin Hu and Fire Phoenix. Unexpectedly, Feng Yong also came to join in on the fun. This kid was bored at home during the new year, so he came to find Tang Zheng to play. At that time, it was Feng Yong who had brought Tang Zheng to the ordinary balance courtyard. Since this brat had nothing to do, then he would bring him to the ordinary balance courtyard to broaden his horizons. When Feng Yong heard that they were going to the ordinary balance courtyard, his eyes lit up. He groped his body for a while and said excitedly, "Boss, this is my bank card. In the past 6 months, I have saved a lot of money. Boss, you can show your invincible might again. Show off your god of gamblers style and win everything they have." Tang Zheng was moved and said cheerfully, "Okay, this time I won't just win a few million. I really want to win everything they have and win back the entire courtyard." Feng Yong asked incredulously, "Really?" "Of course." Tang Zheng nodded solemnly. Feng Yong looked at Tang Zheng for a few seconds and cheered. He was not afraid, but excited. It seemed that after following Tang Zheng for so long, his character had gradually become fearless. The few of them drove, and before long, they arrived at the ordinary balance courtyard. There were already many luxury cars parked in the parking lot. It seemed that today many of the rich people of the ordinary balance courtyard were gathered here. The ordinary balance courtyard was not a place that just anyone could enter. Fortunately, Feng Yong's father was there. His father often came to the ordinary balance courtyard to relax or discuss business. He was a frequent visitor. Therefore, under the guidance of the guards, they were able to smoothly sneak in. The ordinary balance courtyard had a group of guards. These people were courageous and powerful. Moreover, they had received special training from the Song family. Among them, there was no lack of martial artists. However, these martial artists could frighten ordinary people. But in the eyes of Tang Zheng, they were like 3-year-old children, unable to withstand a single blow. Feng Yong dragged Tang Zheng straight to the casino. The hall was brightly lit, and many people had already gathered. All kinds of gambling tables were filled with people. Some people who had won money were laughing wildly, while others who had lost money were cursing in a low voice. "Boss, this time let's learn from the movies and play 5-card stud. How about it? This is exciting enough." Feng Yong excitedly suggested. "Up to you. Anything is fine." Tang Zheng did not mind. Feng Yong received the order and immediately pushed a person off the gambling table. He shouted, "Make way! Make way! The god of gambling has arrived. Ordinary people, go play to the side." Immediately, the people at the table uniformly turned their heads to look at the 4 people. Especially Feng Yong's unbridled and arrogant appearance, which made many people frown. Tang Zheng did not stop him. He was happy to let him show off his power. Today, they were here to cause trouble. What do you mean by cause trouble? Of course, they were here to cause trouble. Tang Zheng could not help but like this kind of unbridled feeling. It was really King cool. Hung. A few brats also dare to play 5-card stud. Don't lose so much that you don't even have your underwear left. It's better if you obediently go back and drink your milk. A baldy unhappily ridiculed. Feng Yong raised his head and fearlessly stared at the other party and said, "Then let's see who will lose their underwear." Finished speaking, he placed his chips on the gambling table. 500,000. This was all of Feng Yong's wealth. Lin Hu and Fire Phoenix were like 2 bodyguards. They stood behind the 2 of them without saying a word. They knew what Tang Zheng wanted to do. Regarding his decision, they raised both hands in approval. Taking down the ordinary balance courtyard in one fell swoop was a good start. This was something they were happy to see. "Boss, come sit. Let them see what is called the god of gambling," Feng Yong said as he pushed Tang Zheng to the seat. The other people looked at Tang Zheng with eyes full of disdain. They clearly did not recognize him as the god of gambling. The dealer also glanced at Tang Zheng but did not take him seriously. He thought he was some prodigal son of a rich family. He sneered in his heart. The casino welcomed this kind of spendthrift. 5-card stud was 5 cards given to each person. One of the cards was the bottom card. Only they could see the other 4 cards. Whoever had the biggest card in the end would be the winner. The dealer dealt the cards. Everyone had a bottom card. Then the second round of cards was dealt. Tang Zheng's face card was a 10 of clubs. The Baldy received an ace of spades. The bigger card would speak. The Baldy directly bet 100,000. He disdainfully smiled at Tang Zheng and said, "Brat, the ace is 10 times bigger than yours. Do you dare to follow?" Tang Zheng smiled but did not say anything. He gave Feng Yong a meaningful glance. Feng Yong understood tacitly and happily said, "What do you mean I don't dare to follow?" 100,000. Follow. The others also followed. For the third card, Tang Zheng received a 6 of clubs. The Baldy received an ace of hearts. One red and one black. The two aces were particularly eye-catching. Haha, looks like I'm really lucky on the first day of the new year. A pair of aces. If I don't raise now, when will I? 200,000. The Baldy laughed and pushed the chips in front of him for another 200,000. Some people carefully looked at their bottom cards. Some people folded. There were only 4 people left at the table. Tang Zheng had a 10 and a 6, but he still did not fold. He firmly followed with a bet of 200,000. Many people shook their heads. They thought to themselves that this was definitely a prodigal son. You really don't know life from death. Tang Zheng shook his head. He gently grabbed his bottom card and threw it on the table. It was a 9 of clubs, a straight flush. Wow! Suddenly, the crowd cried out in surprise. The Baldy's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. Feng Yong excitedly shouted, "I told you, my boss is the god of gambling. Humph, you didn't believe me. Now you see how powerful he is." Chapter 548. Swindler. These 2 words were extremely harsh to the ears in the casino. Hearing the Baldy's clamor, the other people's faces became gloomy. Gambling with a swindler. Wasn't that the same as giving money to the other side? Many people were indignant. No wonder he was so calm and composed. He didn't even look at his cards and dared to place bets. It was as if he had seen through his cards. This kind of godly gambling technique was too similar to a swindler. So he is a swindler. No wonder he is so powerful. No, we must make him spit out the money he won. This brat's guts are really big. He dares to cheat in the ordinary balance courtyard. Does he not want his hands anymore? Everyone was discussing spiritedly. Many people surrounded them. They wanted to see what this unbridled fellow looked like. Most of them were rich people in the ordinary balance courtyard. No one recognized Tang Zheng, but there were people who recognized Lin Hu and Fire Phoenix. After all, these 2 were local tyrants. Although they had retired from Jianghu, they were still imprinted in many people's minds. Who is this brat? He actually dares to sit so casually and let Lin Hu and Fire Phoenix stand like 2 followers? Some people were incomparably shocked. They sized up Tang Zheng as if they wanted to see through his origin. The Baldy clearly didn't recognize Tang Zheng's group. He angrily stammered and shouted, "Don't let them go. They cheated people. Kill them or cripple them." With this shout, several guards walked over. They looked at Tang Zheng's group of 4 with unkind eyes. They fiercely said, "You cheated?" Feng Yong immediately exploded. He shouted, "Which eye of yours saw us cheated? Let me tell you, my boss is the god of gambling. He is not a cheater. If you can't afford to play, then don't play. You are making a fool of yourself." Saying this, he disdainfully glanced at the Baldy. The Baldy could also be considered a successful person. When had he ever been looked down upon by 2 brats? He immediately flew into a rage and said, "If we didn't cheat, how could we win?" Feng Yong still wanted to refute, but Tang Zheng waved his hand, indicating him to calm down. He looked at the Baldy with ridicule and said, "To win against you is very simple. Moreover, you keep saying that I cheated. Which eye of yours saw it?" Baldy was speechless. It wasn't just him. No one in the room had seen Tang Zheng cheat. He had only touched his trump card at the last moment when the cards were revealed. Therefore, the chances of him cheating were very slim. How did Tang Zheng do all this? Of course, it was the effect of the illusion. As long as he used the illusion, these cards could appear as he wanted others to see them. In other words, he could change the cards in his hand into any card he wanted in the eyes of others. This was simply a heaven-defying cheat. No one could win against him. Today, Tang Zheng was here to kick up a fuss, not to gamble. So of course he wouldn't follow the rules. If the ordinary balanced courtyard slandered a guest for cheating, then the name of the ordinary balanced courtyard should be removed. Tang Zheng said in a bad mood. Several of the guards' hearts trembled. They couldn't bear this kind of responsibility. They hurriedly sent someone to inform the others and let an expert come out. Tang Zheng calmly sat on the fishing platform. He pointed at the pile of chips on the table and said to Feng Yong, "Bring them over." Feng Yong was radiant with joy as he took over the chips. He thought to himself that this was really king satisfying. He had won several million in one go and had made these people lose their courage. Baldy still wanted to stop him but was pushed aside by Feng Yong. Feng Yong was no longer the same as before. He was a martial artist. Among ordinary people, he could be considered a powerful character. Therefore, how could Baldy be his opponent? Baldy felt a strong force coming at him. He staggered back and sat down on the ground. The others were shocked and quickly scattered to avoid him. Feng Yong disdainfully glared at Baldy and said, "I just said that my boss would beat you until you didn't even have your underwear. You didn't believe me. Now are you dumbfounded?" Baldy was flustered and exasperated as he crawled up and hid behind a guard. He put on a strong front and said, "You dare hit me? I definitely won't let you off. As for your ordinary balanced courtyard, you connived with a swindler. Could it be that you really want to ruin your own reputation?" Hong. How could the ordinary balanced courtyard's reputation be ruined by a few brats? Since it's the gambling god, then I'll bet with you. A person walked out with a majestic gait. This person was an old man. His eyes were bright and full of expression. His gaze was sharp. Wah, Ghost Hand has made his move. This brat is going to be in big trouble. The crowd began to whisper. I've long since heard of Ghost Hand's strength. It's just that I've never had the chance to see it. I've heard that a swindler came to the ordinary balanced courtyard to gamble. In the end, Ghost Hand completely defeated him. Moreover, he was caught cheating and had his hands cut off. That's right. Ghost Hand's name isn't for nothing. Ghost Hand's moves are like lightning. He's so fast that he doesn't even leave a shadow. No one can see him clearly. But this brat is also very strange. His gambling skills aren't bad either. Maybe there really will be something to see. Hi hey. To have such a wonderful show on the first day of the new year. This trip really wasn't made in vain. Hearing this discussion, Tang Zheng also sized up Ghost Hand. Apart from being more hale and hearty than an ordinary old man, there wasn't much of a difference. It made people doubt the authenticity of his words. But Tang Zheng wasn't worried. Even if the other party was a gambling expert, he still wouldn't be able to do anything to Tang Zheng. Illusions were much more profound than gambling. You want to bet with me? Tang Zheng looked at the other party with interest. Yes. I wonder if your distinguished self dares? Haha, why wouldn't I dare? Tang Zheng shrugged his shoulders. I also want to know how much weight the ordinary balanced courtyard has. The weight of the ordinary balanced courtyard isn't light. An ordinary person would be crushed to the ground by this weight. Ghost Hand said meaningfully. I don't have any other strong points. It's just that my skin is rough and my flesh is thick. If you want to crush me, the ordinary balanced courtyard isn't qualified. Tang Zheng said bluntly. Once these words were spoken, everyone was shocked. What a big tone. The ordinary balanced courtyard wasn't qualified to crush him. In these people's hearts, not to mention the ordinary balanced city, even if it was the entire country, there weren't many people who would dare to speak like this. This was because many people knew that behind the ordinary balanced courtyard was the Song family. Challenging the ordinary balanced courtyard was equivalent to opposing the current Song family. To these people, the Song family was already equivalent to floating in the clouds. They were too high to reach. No one dared to touch this tiger's whiskers. That was why Tang Zheng's words had caused such a huge reaction. Ghost Hand's eyes flashed with a sharp light. He confidently said, It seems your distinguished self has come with a reason. Since that's the case, then let's see who will win at the gambling table. The corner of Tang Zheng's mouth curled, tacitly agreeing with his proposal. Seeing the other party sit down, he said, Since you are representing the ordinary balanced courtyard, then this bet naturally can't be so small. A few million, or even tens of millions, is meaningless. Hiss, some people sucked in a cold breath. A few million, or even tens of millions was nothing in his eyes. Just how much was he prepared to bet? Ghost Hand's eyebrows jumped. He said, "Since we've opened the gambling house, then of course we have to satisfy our guests. Your distinguished self, just how much is the desperate situation betting?" Tang Zheng raised his head and looked around. After admiring his surroundings, he said, "Let's bet on the ownership of the ordinary balanced courtyard. We'll decide the winner in one round." This was something that Tang Zheng had come up with on the spur of the moment. Previously, he had been prepared to directly take action and use force to seize the ordinary balanced courtyard. But after thinking about it, he realized that if he did that, then his reputation wouldn't be too good. It would affect the business of this new club in the future. The gains didn't make up for the losses. The ordinary balanced courtyard was a hen that could lay golden eggs. Tang Zheng naturally wouldn't kill the hen to get the eggs. But through this gambling house, he could openly win back the ordinary balanced courtyard. That would be enough to shut the mouths of those people. He had purposely angered the people at the gambling table in order to make the ordinary balanced courtyard send someone to gamble with him. This would save him time. The ownership of the ordinary balanced courtyard? Guisho's face turned pale with fright. This person had clearly come to cause trouble. In all these years, he had never seen someone who didn't know what was good for him. Correct. If I win against you, then the ordinary balanced courtyard will change owners and become mine. Tang Zheng firmly said. The crowd was in an uproar. This person had gone crazy. He actually dared to boast so shamelessly. He even wanted to swallow the ordinary balanced courtyard. Wasn't he afraid of bursting his stomach? Guisho's expression kept changing. He was one of the managers of the ordinary balanced courtyard, but he was unable to decide the fate of the entire ordinary balanced courtyard. However, this wasn't a problem for him. He calmly said, "You want to win the ordinary balanced courtyard? You want to go on stage with just a few million chips? There isn't such a good thing in this world." Tang Zheng disapprovingly retorted, "Who said I only used a few million chips? Then you want to exchange for more chips?" Tang Zheng shook his head. "This is my chip." He took out a brocade box and placed it on the table in front of him. The other people all stretched out their necks, curiously looking at the brocade box. They wanted to see just what kind of treasure was inside. "What is this?" Guisho asked. "Life-continuing pill." Life-continuing pill? Everyone's face was filled with suspicion. These people were separated from the capital by thousands of miles. Although the last auction had caused a huge commotion, the majority of them still didn't know the details of this matter. Of course, they hadn't heard of the life-continuing pill. Guisho's face was also filled with suspicion. He had clearly never heard of this term. The life-continuing pill is incomparably precious. It is perfect for betting. Tang Zheng paused for a moment. Looking at him, he said, "If you don't believe me, then you can call back and ask about the life-continuing pill." Guisho hesitated for a moment before really pulling out his phone. After a while, he confirmed that there really was a life-continuing pill. "Why do you have the life-continuing pill? That isn't something you need to worry about. I'll only say one thing. The life-continuing pill's effects are absolutely true." Guisho couldn't help but feel a rush of excitement. The wrinkles at the corner of his eyes gradually smoothed out as if he had a second spring. His face gradually became rosy. Guisho had already decided that if he won the life-continuing pill and gave it to the Song family, then his future would be even brighter. Of course, he didn't think that he would lose. His gambling skills were exquisite, and Tang Zheng wouldn't be able to compare to him. So in this bet, he was completely empty-handed. As long as he won the life-continuing pill, then he would reach the heavens in a single step. Chapter 549. The others didn't know what the hell the life-continuing pill was, but it was actually worth so much money. They all rubbed their eyes, preparing to see the true face of the life-continuing pill after Ghost Hand won so that they could brag to others in the future. It was clear that the majority of the people still believed in Ghost Hand's gambling skills. They believed that this gambling god who had suddenly appeared must be bluffing and would definitely lose. Ghost Hand signaled the beautiful dealer with his eyes, allowing her to deal the cards. The others surrounded the gambling table, admiring this unique gambling game. Just at this moment, a person quickly walked into the gambling hall and loudly shouted, "Tang Zheng, you sure have guts, daring to come to the ordinary balance courtyard to cause trouble." The crowd was fiercely split apart as the people surrounding the gambling table staggered back, revealing a path. A person walked in with the vigor of a tiger. Many people angrily glared at him, wanting to scold him, but when they met his eyes, their hearts trembled and they swallowed the words that were about to come out of their mouths. Seeing this person, Tang Zheng's pupils couldn't help but shrink. His gaze became sharp as he expressionlessly looked at the other person and asked, "Qin Lao, it's really been a long time. Why didn't you stay in Beijing? What did you come to the ordinary balance courtyard for?" This person was Song Yu's bodyguard. Back then, the two of them had met for the first time in the ordinary balance courtyard. At that time, Tang Zheng was quite afraid of him. Greater than over equal to greater than over equal to, but things were different now. Tang Zheng no longer needed to be afraid of the other person. Qin Lao heard Tang Zheng's question and said with an unkind expression, "I can come and go as I please. Do I need to tell you what to do?" Actually, when Qin Lao saw Tang Zheng again, his heart was filled with anger and regret. If he had hardened his heart back then and directly killed Tang Zheng, then he wouldn't have created such a strong enemy for the Song family. However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. As he watched Tang Zheng grow stronger step by step, he felt powerless. He deeply felt a sense of powerlessness. As a person who thought highly of himself, he could accept being weaker than the members of the several great families. However, he couldn't bear to see Tang Zheng become stronger. This was because he had looked down on Tang Zheng from the very beginning. Of course, Tang Zheng could tell that the other party was looking down on him, but he didn't care and said, "You don't need to tell me, but ordinary balance is my hometown. If the Song family dares to stir up trouble here, I definitely won't stand by and watch." A murderous glint flashed in Qin Lao's eyes. This time, he was not here for a vacation. He was here with a mission. The Song family really regarded Tang Zheng as a threat, so they began to research strategies to deal with Tang Zheng. After some discussion, they finally decided to start with Tang Zheng's headquarters, ordinary balance. Hadn't the underground forces in Tang Zheng's hands been wiped out? Then, they would take advantage of this period of vacuum to occupy the underground world of ordinary balance. From there, they could use this underground force to attack Tang Zheng when necessary. Of course, this wasn't a complicated matter, and it wasn't a big deal. Therefore, the Song family only sent Elder Qin as a representative. A few days ago, they had contacted the underground forces in the surrounding counties and cities and were prepared to take action after the Spring Festival. Of course, these underground forces were flattered and treated Qin Lao as a distinguished guest. Usually, they would not have the opportunity to get in touch with the famous Song family. Of course, they would not let go of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. They had been waiting for Qin Lao to give the order. Then, the army would come and occupy the underground world of ordinary balance. Although the underground forces of the nearby counties and cities had heard of the power of Chongheng City's extraordinary underground forces, they were still swept away by the authorities in the end. Therefore, their original trace of fear disappeared like smoke in thin air. However, Qin Lao never expected to see Tang Zheng in ordinary balance's courtyard on the first day of the Spring Festival. He did not believe that Tang Zheng came with bad intentions. He did not believe that Tang Zheng came just to win a few rounds of gambling. Therefore, when he found Tang Zheng's figure in the surveillance and Ghost Hand wanted to bet with him, he could not wait to rush over. No matter what Tang Zheng's purpose was, he would not let Tang Zheng succeed. Hearing Tang Zheng's threat, Qin Lao held back his killing intent. However, the others were stunned. Just who was this person? He actually dared to go against the Song family's people. Some well-informed people immediately remembered that ordinary balance had caused a huge uproar and instantly guessed Tang Zheng's identity. Those who originally had a doubtful attitude could not help but somewhat believe it. Perhaps, this young man called Tang Zheng really did have outstanding ability. That was why he dared to go against the Song family and cause such a huge disturbance. Tang Zheng, I don't care what you do in other places. If you dare to cause trouble in ordinary balance's courtyard, then don't blame me for being impolite. Hee hee, Ordinary Balance's courtyard is open for guests. Is this how you treat your guests? If you really have something to say, then it won't be too late to say it after I finish betting with Ghost Hand, Tang Zheng said. Qin Lao immediately looked at Ghost Hand and scolded. Who told you to bet with him? Ghost Hand was speechless. He did not know who this young man was to actually make the usually aloof Qin Lao so afraid. You're not allowed to bet anymore, Qin Lao said without any trace of politeness. Although Ghost Hand was a gambling expert, his position in the Song family was far from being on par with Qin Lao. Hearing him say this, he did not dare disobey and nodded. Yes, Qin Lao. Tang Zheng coldly watched from the sidelines. How could he let Qin Lao disrupt his plans? He sneered. Qin Lao, you really have a lot of face. Just because you say you won't bet, you won't bet? Who do you think you are? Since you agreed to bet with me, then you can only finish the bet. Tang Zheng's unprecedented, unyielding attitude caused Qin Lao to fly into a rage. He fiercely glared at Ghost Hand and asked, What is your bet? A life-continuing pill, Ghost Hand nervously said. When Qin Lao heard the name life-continuing pill, his eyes lit up with joy. He was already at the end of his life. If he could obtain a life-continuing pill, then his future cultivation would definitely be able to reach the next level. Although the Song family had obtained 2 life-continuing pills at the auction, where would he get a share? So when he heard the 3 words life-continuing pill, he could not help but feel a surge of emotion and let his imagination run wild. But before he could be happy for too long, he saw Tang Zheng point to the roof and add, There is also this ordinary balance courtyard. What? Ordinary balance courtyard? Qin Lao's heart skipped a beat and his face turned pale with fright. Ghost Hand, who gave you the right to use the ordinary balance courtyard as a bet? I. Ghost Hand's face was deathly pale as he stammered, unable to say a single word. Ghost Hand cannot make this decision. So this bet is invalid and does not count, Qin Lao firmly said. Tang Zheng revealed a smile that was not a smile and said, Since he agreed to my bet, it won't be that easy to give up halfway. If he doesn't want to bet with you, then I want to see what you can do. Tang Zheng's eyes turned cold as he gave Lin Hu a meaningful glance. Lin Hu tacitly understood and grabbed Ghost Hand. He pressed him onto the gambling table and said, If you don't want to bet, then don't bet. Who do you think you are? Ghost Hand's gambling skills were very good, but he did not have any skills. He was so scared that he trembled and looked towards Qin Lao for help. Qin Lao flew into a rage and said, Tang Zheng, you dare to touch a Song family member? You are courting death. After saying this, he stepped forward like a fierce tiger and grabbed at Lin Hu. Wah! Immediately, cries of alarm rang out as everyone retreated 3 steps back. However, there was not the slightest trace of fear between their brows. Instead, their eyes burned with passion. This kind of excitement was not easy to see. On the first day of the new year, there were many good shows appearing one after another. It was truly wonderful. Seeing that Qin Lao was about to grab Lin Hu did not have the slightest bit of resistance in front of him. However, Lin Hu did not have the slightest bit of fear, nor did he retreat. Instead, he grabbed Ghost Hand even tighter. Pong! A hand appeared in front of Lin Hu, blocking Qin Lao's attack. With a muffled sound, Qin Lao staggered backwards, knocking into several guards before stopping. He was battered and exhausted. The air froze for a few seconds. No one dared to breathe too loudly as they watched this scene in disbelief. With just one move, Tang Zheng forced his opponent to retreat. As a result, the winner was immediately decided. Old Man Qin's face turned the color of a pig's liver as he looked at the ridicule in everyone's eyes. He felt as if he was about to go crazy. With a low roar, he charged towards Tang Zheng like a wild beast. A sharp light flashed in Tang Zheng's eyes. Seeing that Qin Lao was about to close in, his figure flashed and dodged the opponent's attack. Then, he grabbed Qin Lao's collar and pressed him against the gambling table. A cold light flashed in his hand and a dagger appeared. With a fierce stab, the back of Qin Lao's hand was nailed to the gambling table. Blood flowed and dyed the gambling table red. These few moves were clean and neat. It was so handsome that many women in the crowd had their eyes lit up. They exclaimed softly, "Wow, so handsome, so manly." The men were shocked by Tang Zheng's decisive killing move. They were speechless for a long time. Qin Lao unconsciously let out a scream. His forehead was covered in cold sweat as he angrily roared, "Tang Zheng, you dare to touch me? Hee hee, I even dared to kill the Chu clan's patriarch, let alone a small character like you. Do you think that if I really kill you, what can the Song family do to me?" Tang Zheng disdainfully said. Qin Lao's heartstrings trembled. Only now did he remember Tang Zheng's actions. He was no longer the small character he was before. Instead, he was a decisive and ruthless person. Just like Tang Zheng said, even if he killed Qin Lao, what could the Song family do to him? Immediately, he felt a strong sense of fear. He struggled with all his might, wanting to escape from Tang Zheng's hands. However, Tang Zheng pointed at his body and his acupuncture points were immediately sealed. He was unable to move. Blood quickly flowed out from the back of his hand and dyed the gambling table red. Ghost Hand was pressed onto the gambling table. He could only watch as the blood flowed towards his mouth like a small stream. He was so scared that he screamed. The beautiful dealer was so scared that her face lost all color. She fell to the ground. Tang Zheng indicated for Lin who to let go of Ghost Hand and said, "Our gambling will continue. Now that we don't have this annoying fly interfering, we can gamble to our heart's content." Ghost Hand trembled incessantly. His face was as white as paper. How could he still dare to gamble? He cowered and couldn't say a single word. Hee hee, it seems like you guys want to rest. That's fine as long as you don't care about him dying from blood loss. Tang Zheng indifferently shrugged and calmly sat down. Chapter 550. At this moment, Tang Zheng's aura was like a rainbow. Many people didn't dare to look at him directly, but Feng Yong was excited. He looked at Tang Zheng with eyes full of worship. He thought to himself that if he could be this handsome one day, he would have no regrets in life. Ghost Hand finally overcame the fear in his heart and urged, "Then let's hurry up and gamble." He was deeply afraid that Qin Lao would die from excessive blood loss because of him. If that happened, he would be blamed. The Song family would definitely hold him responsible. The young man in front of him was clearly here to cause trouble. Since he wasn't even afraid of the Song family, what else could he say? He could only use all his skills to gamble on this round. However, his confidence was no longer as strong as before. He was worried about his gains and losses. Tang Zheng squinted his eyes and smiled. He said to the dealer sitting on the ground, "Beauty, it's your turn to deal the cards. Don't be afraid. I'm not a bad person." The dealer was about to cry. "You're not a bad person? You pierce someone's palm with a knife, and you're not a bad person." She was scared to death. With great difficulty, she restrained her weakness and stood trembling in front of the gambling table. However, when she saw the red blood that stained half of the gambling table, she almost fainted. "Deal the cards," Tang Zheng said. This time, it was a bet between two people. There was no need to add additional stakes. All 5 cards were dealt at once. The gambling table in front of Tang Zheng and Ghost Hand was dyed red with blood. The dealer looked at Tang Zheng inquiringly. Should the cards be dealt like this? That way, the cards would be stained with blood. Seeing that Tang Zheng didn't respond, the dealer could only muster up the courage to deal the cards to the blood-stained area. However, when the cards were about to land on the gambling table, the blood on the gambling table seemed to have a life of its own. It automatically flowed in all directions, leaving a clean spot. Not a trace of blood stained the cards. When everyone saw this magical scene, they were amazed. They didn't know how Tang Zheng did it. However, Ghost Hand's cards didn't have such preferential treatment. They were directly dealt into a pool of blood, which made the corner of Ghost Hand's mouth twitch. After the 5 cards were dealt, the faces of the two were very strange. The Ghost Hand table had 10 of spades, J, Q, and K, which had a straight flush. On the other hand, Tang Zheng's cards were much smaller and very messy, with 2 of spades, 3 of spades, 7 of spades, and 9 of spades, but there was also a possibility of a flush. Everyone else stared at their cards with their eyes wide open. It was as if they wanted to use X-ray vision to see through their cards. This kind of card was too interesting. There were many possibilities. Netherclaw resisted the urge to vomit and picked up a corner of his trump card from the pool of blood. The others also wanted to take a closer look, but Netherclaw blocked their line of sight, making it impossible for them to see. Tangzheng also looked at Netherclaw with interest. Since this person's gambling skills were so exquisite, and he was called Netherclaw, then he must have 1,000 techniques that had reached perfection. Otherwise, unless it was someone like Tangzheng who knew magic, how could others get whatever cards they wanted? Tangzheng had never seen anyone cheat, but when he thought about it, it was nothing more than 2 fast hands, changing cards before anyone noticed. Therefore, Tangzheng specially stared at Netherclaw, wanting to see some clues. As expected, the moment Netherclaw raised his card, a card slipped out from his sleeve. With a light hook of his finger, the card on the table slipped into his sleeve. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to notice it at all. Only an expert like Tangzheng could see through it. He smiled proudly in his heart. As expected of Netherclaw, he was as hard to detect as a ghost. However, he didn't expose him. In front of him, all kinds of techniques were useless. Netherclaw successfully changed his card, and seeing that Tangzheng didn't have any reaction, he secretly let out a sigh of relief. The card change was successful, and the card in his hand was the ace of spades. Like this, it was a straight flush. Even if Tangzheng also had an ace of spades, it would be enough to beat him. The moment he changed his card, Tangzheng saw that his trump card had changed to the ace of spades, so he also knew his trump card. Even so, he sat steadily on Mount Tai, not showing the slightest bit of abnormality. Ordinary Balance's courtyard is safe. Netherclaw silently said in his heart, "This person is still lacking. My title of Netherclaw is not for nothing." Tangzheng looked at Netherclaw without batting an eyelid and said, "You're so confident. It seems like you got a good set of cards?" Netherclaw reservedly said, "It's okay." Hearing him say this, the others all guessed the clues and began to whisper to each other. Netherclaw's card can't be a straight flush, right? It's very possible, otherwise how could he be so confident? Then that means Tangzheng will definitely lose. Then everyone can see what the life-continuing pill is like. Don't say anymore. Look, they're about to reveal their cards. Tangzheng didn't look at his own card, but only calmly looked at Netherclaw and said, "Since you're so confident, then let's reveal our cards together and reveal the answer. How about it?" Okay. Netherclaw's confidence increased a bit. The two of them grabbed their cards at the same time and flipped them over, fiercely slamming the 2 cards on the table. Papa. With 2 soft sounds, Netherclaw's cards fell into a pool of blood, splashing out a few blood stains. But Tangzheng's cards still fell, and the blood on the table automatically retreated without the slightest trace of stain. Everyone's eyes widened as they looked at the 2 cards, and cries of alarm rang out. Wah, how could it be this kind of card? Qinlao not only stared at Netherclaw, he also stared at Tangzheng, wanting to see if he cheated. But he saw that Netherclaw cheated, but he didn't see any sign of Tangzheng breaking the rules. This was because, from beginning to end, he only touched his cards when he flipped them over. At other times, his hands weren't on the table, so there was no chance for him to cheat. But when he saw the cards on the table, Qinlao was stunned, and his eyes almost fell out. What the hell was going on? The cards were 2 aces, 1 spade, and 1 plum. But the spade was Tangzheng's card, and the plum was Netherclaw's. Netherclaw's face suddenly froze as he looked at the cards in disbelief. The plum was stained with blood, and was exceptionally dazzling. He turned pale with fright and cried out crazily, "Impossible! Absolutely impossible! My card was clearly the ace of spades. How could it become the ace of clubs?" Tangzheng looked at him with a smile and said, "Everyone here isn't blind. Can't you even tell the difference between a spade and a plum? Everyone take a look. Who won and who lost?" Without a doubt, of course it was Tangzheng who won. The cards in his hand were a flush, and Netherclaw's cards were a straight. The flush was bigger than the straight, so of course he won. Wah, This is really exciting. No one would have thought that Tang Zheng's card would be the ace of spades. This victory was too close. Didn't Netherclaw always say that his card was the ace of spades? Why is it the ace of clubs? Could it be that his eyes are blurred and he mistook the plum for spades? It's very possible. A loss is a loss, and a win is a win. Making such a ruckus, there's no elegance at all. The crowd was discussing spiritedly, but even more people were looking at them expectantly. This was because if Tang Zheng won, then the ordinary balance courtyard would change owners. But would Tang Zheng really get what he wanted? Many people were still doubtful. Netherclaw had already sat down on the ground, forgetting to shout. He stared dumbstruck at Tang Zheng, muttering to himself, "Impossible, impossible." He had already cheated countless times and had never failed. How could he have mistaken the plum for a spade? So it could only be that Tang Zheng's gambling skills were better than his, so he had switched cards. Of course, Tang Zheng didn't switch cards. A small illusion technique was enough to completely change both of their cards. Netherclaw was grief-stricken because he knew he was dead for sure. After losing the ordinary balance courtyard, how could the Song family let him off? Tang Zheng stood up, cupped his hands towards the crowd, and said, "Today, I thank everyone for being witnesses. From now on, the ordinary balance courtyard will change its surname to Tang. I hope everyone will support me in the future." Tang Zheng, don't even think about it. Qin Lao gnashed his teeth and said weakly. Tang Zheng looked at him with ridicule and said, "Today is a joyous day. I don't want to kill anyone, so you better shut your mouth. Otherwise, next year's New Year's Day will be your death anniversary." Qin Lao's heart trembled. He wanted to say a few more tough words, but he forcibly held them back. He already understood that Tang Zheng really dared to kill him. If he provoked him, he would be the one to suffer in the end. Moreover, his blood had been flowing non-stop, and his body had already become very weak. But he still fiercely glared at Netherclaw and said, "After losing the ordinary balance courtyard, you can just wait to die." When Netherclaw heard this, his whole body trembled, and he completely collapsed. He crawled up from the ground in panic and screamed, "I don't want to die." Then, he squeezed through the crowd and hurriedly fled outside. He fell at the entrance, but crawled back up. Without caring about his injuries, he disappeared in the blink of an eye. Tang Zheng didn't pay attention to him. This was just a small character. The Song family wouldn't let him go, so why would he need to take action? Tang Zheng waved his hand at the trembling guards. These guards acted as if they were facing a great enemy. In their hearts, Qin Lao was a celestial existence. But in front of Tang Zheng, Qin Lao was like a clay chicken that couldn't even withstand a single blow. They were even less of a match for him, so no one dared to do such a suicidal action. "Take him and scram for me. From now on, if he dares to take a single step into the ordinary balance courtyard, this will be his fate." The moment his voice fell, Tang Zheng slammed his palm onto the gambling table, only to hear a kacha sound as the gambling table shattered into pieces. Almost everyone couldn't help but shiver, and an indescribable fear welled up in their hearts. At the same time, they firmly remembered Tang Zheng's face in their hearts. In the future, when they returned, they would definitely warn their friends and family not to provoke this guy called Tang Zheng in the ordinary balance courtyard. Otherwise, they would really die very, very miserably. In addition, when you return, tell Song Yu, "Don't think that I don't know what he has done in secret. I will pay him back double." Tang Zheng added. The guards hurriedly nodded, and as if they had been granted amnesty, they took the almost unconscious Qin Lao and left. Then, Tang Zheng arranged for Lin Hu and Fire Phoenix to take over the ordinary balance courtyard. The two of them were no strangers to this kind of business, so they immediately took action. The guests also left one after another. Without a doubt, the ordinary balance courtyard would soon spread the news that the ordinary balance courtyard had changed owners. Chapter 551. The guards in ordinary balance's courtyard had been dismissed, but it was impossible for such a big club to not have any guards. However, this was not a problem for Tang Zheng. He still had the mysterious power of the witch tribe in his hands, which was more than enough to be a guard. There was probably no other club with such a strong security force. Under the leadership of Tian Chanzi, the witch tribe had already gained a foothold in the southwest neighbor. Since his identity had been exposed, the witch tribe had to slowly stand on the stage. Coincidentally, during the Chinese New Year, he finally got in touch with Tian Chanzi. After all, this was a modern society, and communication was very advanced. Both sides exchanged opinions, and Tian Chanzi immediately said that he would send some witch tribe warriors to ordinary balance. These witch tribe warriors had already adapted to modern life, so they would not have any problems in ordinary balance. As for the other matters in the club, Tang Zheng, as a hands-off manager, left them all to Lin Hu and the others. He was relieved, but some people were living a life worse than death. Qin Lao's wound had stopped bleeding. His injury was not serious, but he had lost a lot of blood. He was a little dizzy, his legs were weak, and his face was pale. At this moment, he was sitting in a mansion in Jade Sand City. Jade Sand City was a provincial capital city, and it was much more prosperous than ordinary Balance City. He sat on the sofa without saying a word, and a few people carefully accompanied him. One of them was a middle-aged man with a square face and a fierce face. This man was Lei Ming, the leader of Jade Sand City's underground world, just like Huang San's position in ordinary balance. However, Lei Ming was after all a provincial capital city, so his influence was greater. This time, Qin Lao had allied with several underground forces, and Lei Ming was the biggest. Therefore, after he suffered a loss in ordinary balance, he rushed to Jade Sand City without stopping. To be honest, Qin Lao was still a little afraid that Tang Zheng would change his mind and take the opportunity to kill him. If that happened, he would definitely die even if he had 3 heads and 6 arms, so escaping to Lei Ming's territory was obviously much safer. He still hadn't reported the matter of the ordinary balance monastery to Song Yu. That was because this was an extraordinary shame and humiliation for him. Although the ordinary balance monastery wasn't that important to the Song family, it had still fallen into the hands of others. If others found out, they would definitely become a laughingstock. Qin Lao was hesitant. He wasn't willing to flee back to Beijing like this. If he did, he wouldn't be able to raise his head in the Song family. However, he couldn't think of a good way to take back ordinary balance villa. After a while, Lei Ming finally couldn't bear it anymore. He said with righteous indignation, "Qin Lao, don't worry. He's just a kid who hasn't even grown hair yet. This time you've fallen into his trap. Next time we'll just have to find our way back." Qin Lao's eyebrows jumped. He was about to angrily say, "Do you think it'll be that easy to find our way back?" However, he swallowed the words that were about to come out of his mouth. He thoughtfully looked at Lei Ming and nodded. With Boss Lei's words, "Then I'm relieved." Lei Ming was overjoyed. His actions had finally moved the other party. He hurriedly said, "Qin Lao, just watch. I'll definitely make this kid look good." "Haha, then what are you going to do? Doesn't he have a property in ordinary balance? We have a lot of people. We'll just directly smash his property and let him know the consequences of offending the Song family and you, Qin Lao." Lei Ming said as if it wasn't a big deal. Qin Lao sighed in his heart. He thought that the other party had some kind of trick up his sleeve, but it turned out that it was just a bunch of cheap tricks. They couldn't attack Tang Zheng's foundation at all. In the eyes of ordinary people, these so-called underground powers were so fierce that they did not dare to provoke them, but in old man Qin's eyes, they were too small. The young master's move was not very clever, but it could only give Tang Zheng a little bit of trouble. However, Qin Lao didn't attack Lei Ming's self-confidence. Instead, he encouraged him. "Oh, then I'll leave it to you." Lei Ming was overjoyed. He pointed at a young man sitting next to him and said, "Qin Lao, this is my son. I'll leave this matter to him. I guarantee that he'll do a good job." If Tang Zheng was here, he would definitely recognize this young man. This was the handsome young master who was slapped by Lan Yu in the shopping mall. His full name was Lei Jun. The handprint on Lei Jun's face had already disappeared, but the evil fire in his heart had nowhere to vent. That day, he was slapped in front of a big star. After the incident, he still couldn't find the culprit. This caused him to lose a lot of face. The big star that he originally had hopes of winning over flew away just like that. It was too late for regrets. Since his old man gave him such an important task, then he would use this person to vent his anger and relieve the evil fire in his heart. Lei Jun looked at Qin Lao and squeezed out a smile, saying, "Qin Lao, please rest assured. I will definitely not disappoint you and complete the task." Qin Lao nodded his head in approval. But Qin Lao didn't place his hopes on this unreliable father and son pair. Instead, he wanted to find another person. In this province, only he had the authority to help him take back the ordinary balanced courtyard. Tang Jing didn't know about Qin Lao's countermeasures. The sky was already dark. Just as he returned to his house, he was stopped by two people downstairs. Lan Yu and Wu's faces were calm. After seeing Tang Zheng, Lan Yu squeezed out a smile with great difficulty and said, "Little Zheng, I have to go." Tang Zheng's eyes flashed with a strange light. He thought that Lan Yu wanted to fight a long battle to the death. He didn't think that he would compromise so quickly. He was secretly happy and nodded his head without batting an eyelid. "Little Zheng, I originally thought that I could stay by your side to make up for the mistakes and regrets of these years. I didn't think that the heavens would make a fool of me. I have no choice but to leave." Lan Yu's expression was lost as he bitterly said, "If you have something to do, then go do it." Tang Zheng's heart couldn't help but soften. Although this period of time was short, he had seen everything that Lan Yu had done. However, it was impossible for him to forgive her just like that. In the future, you have to take good care of yourself. Don't put yourself in danger. Calm down when you encounter trouble. Don't be merciful to your enemies. Otherwise, the one who will be hurt in the end will be you or your family. Lan Yu began to nag endlessly, completely like a mother who was about to leave to her son. "I know," Tang Zheng said indifferently. Seeing Master's wife's heartbroken appearance, Wu fiercely glared at Tang Zheng and said unjustly, "Tang Zheng, do you know that Master's wife did this for your safety? Even Master and the martial sect broke off because of you. Do you know?" Tang Zheng was surprised and asked curiously, "The martial sect leader and the martial sect broke off?" "Yes, it's all because of you. Now it's all a mess. How could it be because of me?" Tang Zheng was confused, but he was also shocked by this news. As one of the three mysterious organizations, if the position of sect leader was changed, it would definitely cause a huge reaction from all sides. Who knows, it might even cause a storm. But how could this have anything to do with him? Seeing his blank expression, her martial chi came out of nowhere. Her master and mistress had done so much for him, yet he was completely unaware of it. Furthermore, he did not appreciate their kindness. It really angered her to death. She did not care that her mistress was hinting at her with her eyes and directly said, "Of course it's because of you. Because you are Master's son, and because you have the identity of a cultivator, how could the martial sect tolerate the sect master's son being a cultivator? Thus, for you, the sect master broke off relations with the two elders. As a result, they allied with the Li Palace's palace master and stripped him of his position as sect master. Tell me, if this isn't because of you, who else could it be?" Seeing that Marshall had directly ignored his gaze, Lan Yu hurriedly pulled Marshall back and said to Tang Zheng with a forced smile, "Little Zheng, don't listen to her nonsense. All of this is not because of you. It's just a scheme hatched by others. It has nothing to do with you." Tang Zheng was not an idiot. Of course he understood that what Wu said was the truth. He had actually affected the position of the martial sect's sect leader, and that person had broken off relations with the martial sect because of him. This was indeed something that he did not expect. He had always thought that that person was drunk with power. Back then, in order to protect the position of sect leader, he had only watched as he was almost killed by others without doing anything. Therefore, Tang Zheng had always hated him. But now that he heard that person give up everything for him, it completely broke the image of that person in Tang Zheng's eyes. For a moment, Tang Zheng was at a loss for what to do. "Mistress, I want to say it today. Maybe you guys were wrong back then, but now that you guys have done so much for him, he still has such a stinky face every day. Who exactly is he trying to show it to? Tang Zheng, don't you usually brag about being fair and upright? You can put yourself in other people's shoes. But can't you put yourself in the shoes of master and mistress? If you were in their position, what would you do? At least I won't abandon my own child. Tang Zheng blurted out. This was the eternal pain in his heart. Originally, the wound had already formed a scar, but because of the appearance of Lan Yu and Wu Junshan, the wound was torn open once again, dripping with blood. When Lan Yu heard this, his face turned as pale as paper. He trembled and said, "Yes, it was our fault back then. I don't have the qualifications to beg for your forgiveness." Seeing her like this, Tang Zheng couldn't bear it, but he stubbornly refused to admit his mistake. Seeing that, Wu scolded loudly, "Tang Zheng, you bastard. Do you know how cruel it is to treat mistress like this? Since you already know about the matter of the martial organization, then I still have to remind you that there is another mysterious power behind the elders and the Li Palace. You must be careful. I will also do my best to investigate and see who wants to deal with my child behind this. I will definitely not let my child be threatened again." Lan Yu said resolutely and decisively. Hearing these sonorous and powerful words filled with killing intent, Tang Zheng felt a warm current flow through his head. Just as he was about to apologize, Lan Yu's figure disappeared in a flash. The moment she turned around, Tang Zheng could clearly see a crystal-clear light flashing in her eyes. Seeing this scene, Wu Qi gasped for breath. He stomped his feet hatefully and said, "You treat them like this, but they still treat you well without any complaints or regrets. Are you a blockhead? You're completely obedient to your women, and you're completely devoted to them. Don't tell me you're not willing to treat them better." You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.